Hello and welcome to the Inbetween podcast. I'm user host Joe Score and I'm joined here by Tony Tones at RT. How are you, Tony?
Hello, I brought my suit.
Your
But
zoot suit.
yep,
So we are
you
here
can't
to
see it, but I've
ask
got
and
my suit
answer
on.
one simple question.
Yep.
WTF is a 2023. So
Um,
again, this is sort of our more informal games of 2023
yeah,
slash
yeah.
award show for 2023. I think me and you
I would like to
both.
also note. So
Go
I want
on.
to also note that we wait until after 2023 is done because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, otherwise you get like a situation where a game comes out
Yep,
like right towards the end of the year and people are like, this is really
yep,
good. And then it's like
yeah,
nobody's played it, so nobody talks about it.
yeah. It's meant to be a retrospective of the year. There's no need to try and squeeze it in the same year you're talking about. That's stupid, in my opinion. Don't try and do that.
Or just another reason to hate the Steam Awards, I mean. I
Yeah, and the
mean,
Jeff Awards.
we're not gonna have time to talk about the Steam Awards today, but obviously, there'll be a rant
We'll
incoming
rant
soon.
later.
Um,
Yeah.
as I say most years, most of the games I play in the year don't actually come out in that year, and I think that's such a shame because they're great games I want to talk about, and I played them in the year that I'm talking about. So usually I split up the awards into two categories. Games I played that came out in 2023, and then games that I played in 2023, and then I'll have subcategories for those as well. And I've even added some categories over the years as I have been playing more games that got updated in that year. I think that's become a lot more prevalent. I think a lot more like
Yeah.
end of year stuff has started doing that. Like, especially when you have stuff like Fortnite that gets an update like every 2 weeks or some shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There is like stuff that is almost like a new game when it gets updated, sort of level stuff, and I think it's
Yeah.
worth
Some of
talking
those, yeah,
about
for sure.
updates. Yeah. Um, but I was going to start with the anti-Tony categories. I'm going to start with the best VR
Oh,
game of 2023, and that for
best
me.
burger.
So again, ideology. I'm only nominating games I've played. So if you're like, why the fuck is Joe not talking about Baldur's Gate 3? I've not played Baldur's Gate 3. I can't
Yeah.
talk about Baldur's Gate 3. I have no idea what that game's like.
I
Um,
I like to also say like I'm only talking about games that I played, but I'm not talking about games that released in this year at all. So
yeah. So, Tony, my VR game of the year that I played that came out 2023 was a Medieval VR. I think this game's really good.
makes
It is definitely not
yep.
a VR beginner friendly game. It is very much,
No.
go fucking crazy and play the entirety of a Medieval in VR, but it is
I
quite well made, and I love the small
but
touches like pulling planets
yeah.
out of your sphere and out of your like staff in
I
VR and stuff like that.
I massively respect that it's like a full game in VR with an extra stuff that the main game didn't have to make it more VR
Uh,
interesting. I think
Also,
that's like huge
another thing
respect.
I need to talk about you, Tony, is like at this
Yeah.
point, does it matter what year a game come out? Because I
No.
checked my list of games that came out 2023, and so many of them are remakes of games that came out like 20 years ago
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, are these? Do these even count as games that came out
The,
2023?
well,
I
I have a
haven't.
question as well. Like, if it's new to you, does it matter what year it came out in? Like, I truly
Yeah.
don't think it matters.
And then also I have like games that came out of early access in 2023, but were like
Yeah.
released into early
I
access at earlier time.
I think if we were
Um,
officially giving awards, I think it would matter. But I think it's just like our personal games that we
well,
liked. I don't
the
think we
the
should be
way
forced
I
to play
liked
every game.
how the No Clip podcast was doing it was they would just create like a list of 10 games in any order, and they would just give
Yeah.
each one their own like personalized
Well,
award. Basically, they'd be like, I
I
think they gave like Final Fantasy 16 the best AMV award, which I thought was hilarious.
okay.
Um,
I would say like I don't like artificially limiting lists. I think it should be as long as it is. Like if you had a really good year, like just put them all on. I don't think it matters
but
how long it is.
like technically, Gorilla Tag came out of early access this year, which was allowed to be nominated in the Steam
Well,
Awards, but it's
if
not on
we've
my
already talked about it
list.
before, I feel like it's not worth
I've talked about
doing it
Gorilla Tag
again. Like
before,
once.
and I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
say best games I've played in 2023. I loaded up Gorilla Tag again. I was amazed by how good the map was for Halloween. There's like a brand new, spanking new map for Halloween, and then at Christmas there was a whole new map I hadn't seen before. Like I definitely, as soon as I got my Meta Quest, I was loading up Gorilla Tag again, natively on the Quest and on my PC. Streamed across virtual desktop, and I thought it was really cool. I played Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin this year. I thought that was a really good game. It was a very early game, so I think it was missing a lot of like comfort, quality of life features from
Oh
later
yeah,
VR games, which
yeah,
is why
early VR game.
um,
Yeah,
it might feel a bit dated now, but I definitely think that's still a game worth checking out. I'm a big fan of Psychonauts, so I think it's a cool game to check out. And Half-Life 2 VR actually came out the previous year. The Half-Life 2 VR did, and Half-Life 2 VR Episode 1, Episode 2 came out this year, but I did not play them because I didn't get around to it. I got my VR headset in like end of October or something like that, and yeah, it's been kind of crazy. I've been playing other stuff, so I didn't get around to playing those. But yeah, the Half-Life 2 VR mod is really cool, and I would recommend playing that. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, that's the VR section. Let's move on to the next anti-Tony section. We have the best game on Steam Deck, and I'll just quickly go through.
Best game on deck.
Get your dick out.
It's.
As you can, and Tony,
I just love that it gets referred to as deck.
Tony, as you can see here, I've got footage of me actually playing this game on my deck, so you know I was playing on my Steam Deck. If I had to pick one game this year that I played on my Steam Deck that I was like, this is the best game I played on my Steam Deck, it would have to be Super Mario Galaxy. I love Super Mario Galaxy, and that's going to be a theme for this year, Tony, because I think you remember last year when we were making, we were just talking generally about the year of 2022, and I said, I've been really thinking about getting into emulation. I think maybe 2023 will be a year of emulation for me, and it was. Yeah, it really was. I emulated a lot of games in 2023, and through emulating and playing a lot of Nintendo games, like I played Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii when I was younger, and I really enjoyed it. And I legit sat down on my Steam Deck and I played the entirety of this game on the Steam Deck from start to finish. 100%ed the game, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And it is perfect for that system because not only is it, you turn it up to 2 times the Wii resolution, you get that 720p on the nice screen. You also get this would look so good on an OLED as well. For the Steam Deck OLED. I've been doing emulation stuff on the OLED Switch, and that stuff just pops on that screen. I was playing the GBA version of Mario Brothers 2, which is actually quite a good version of that game. It's a very strange Mario game because you don't jump on people's head to kill them. You have to like pick up turnips out the ground and throw them. But yeah, anyways, what I was going to say is this year I was playing a lot of Mario games this year. I think I've played like 5 or 6 different Mario games in 2023, which is kind of nuts. I kind of wanted to just play more Mario games specifically just as a meme to be like, yeah, I played like 10 Mario games or something this year. But I generally really love them. They're some of my favorite games of all time. I'm a huge fan of 3D platformers. The first Mario game I ever played was the deluxe edition of the original Super Mario Bros. On the Game Boy. And I would love to get because another thing from getting a Steam Deck has got me into emulation. It's got me back into handhelds. I would love one day to, mod a GBA to have like an IPS display. I get recommended loads of emulation stuff and hardware and retro hardware stuff on YouTube now. And some of the Game Boy mods you can do, like the Game Boy is like one of my favorite form factors for a handheld. Like I think it's the perfect size.
It does look good, yeah.
And like seeing Game Boys with IPS displays, like an actual IPS display backlit, it's like, oh my god, it looks so good. I would love, I legit still have my Game Boy Color with my copy of Super Mario Brothers Deluxe on, and I play on it sometimes, and I love it. But I'd love to play that. But Super Mario Galaxy, the reason it's so good on Steam Deck is Emu Deck is so good on Steam. Like if you have a Steam Deck or you're just getting one through the Steam Deck OLED that came out this year, you're doing yourself a disservice by not installing Emu Deck on the thing and just going through the back catalog of retro games, because there's so many good ones out there. And another reason it's so good on Steam Deck is you can emulate the waggle-tastic controls really easily, because the Steam Deck has gyro, and it also has touchpads that are very easy to
Yeah.
map as pointers. Like constantly,
has
I was
everything
just
you need.
using the big advantage of the Steam Deck over like the ROG Ally or the Lenovo Legion Go, or even I think, did you see MSI apparently has been leaked that at CES they're going to announce like the MSI Claw, I believe
Oh,
the
right. No,
leaked name at the
I
something.
haven't seen that.
You know what's really interesting
It's
about
good
that
that
one
its APUs
is,
exist.
you know what's really interesting about that one, Tony? Apparently that's not an Z1 Extreme. That's going to be an Intel APU. It's going to be
Yeah,
Arc graphics. So that's going to be really
I'm
interesting
really
to see.
curious about the. I'm really curious about the battery life because unfortunately Intel don't do efficiency very well.
Yeah,
But
it's
we'll see. We'll see.
heavy wattage,
I'll
but
wait.
Steam Deck, great battery. Throughout this year, because I got the Steam Deck in January of 2023, so a lot of 2023 has been me gaming on my Steam Deck, and I would say I've mostly been using it as a device that I use when I'm traveling or I'm in a waiting room or waiting for a bus or something. I use it a lot
Yeah,
there. It's
very
invaluable in those
useful.
times. And
Yeah,
the my
and
other
playing
main
it.
use case is party games, because I like
Yeah,
to. I got a couple of controllers now. I bring it with me when I see my friends, and I'm like, hey, here's a local co-op game I've never been able to play before. Let's play this game on my Steam Deck. It just enables those local co-op experiences that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. It is like that. You always made fun of people who are like, why would you bring a Switch onto a rooftop and then just start
yeah,
playing like local co-op games? And it's like, well, it's a portable system where you can play local co-op games.
yeah,
So.
yeah. I think I don't know. I know you can do it with the Switch, and we even like our group of friends have done that. I just feel like the Steam Deck is way
But
more
I was kind of
powerful to
annoyed by
do
the
that.
Steam Awards, because it was like you can only vote for games that came out in
Mm,
2023, and I was like, well, most of the games
yeah,
won.
yeah,
Super Mario Galaxy did not come out on Steam, and
yeah.
it would have if Valve hadn't emailed Nintendo and been like, "Yo, Dolphin wants to release on Steam. What do you guys think
You
about this?"
you think Dolphin should have won Steam Awards if it came out?
Yeah, yeah. If Dolphin was on
Okay.
Steam, it would have been my Steam Deck Game of the Year. It would have been my Steam
Well,
Award for Steam Deck Game of the Year.
I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about Steam Awards too much. But like, why is there no like best application? Like applications that non-game stuff exist
You
on
would.
Steam as
I
well.
already know in yours, Tony. Seeing as how you have thousands of hours in it, it's got to be.
Oh
It's got
yeah,
to be
I spend
Wallpaper Engine. Your
I
most
spent
played game on
hours looking at
Steam,
it.
Wallpaper Engine.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I don't understand. I think it just bugs out.
but yeah, a couple of games I really wanted to talk about that I couldn't were Cat Quest is a perfect
Oh
game
yeah,
for Steam Deck, because it is great in small chunks. Like you just load it up, it's
it
very simple. You play it for like 10, 15, 30 minutes, and you're like, oh, this is like a little bit fun. You put it down, you come back to it. I think
yeah.
like the Steam Deck, you can have like certain games where it's like, if I sat down and I focused on playing this, I might see more of the rough edges, more of the flaws. But it's like, if it's quite a simple game that's easy to pick up and put down, it's a lot more forgiving on a platform like the Steam Deck, and I think that's one of the strengths of the
I think
platform.
yeah, because we're talking about like the other day, like not recorded or anything, but like it's like you like play. You have different play style, different like expectation on the PC to the Steam Deck, and
Yeah,
it's just
so
like, you're playing more different games because of
one
that.
game I was playing recently was SpongeBob SquarePants Rehydrated, and I was playing on my Steam Deck, and I was like, this is great. And then I was like, maybe I should main game this. So I downloaded it onto my PC and I started playing, and I was like, man, this game's really rough. It's a little bit buggy, and it's not got it's not got the same platforming polish of like a Mario game, for example,
Yeah,
or like even like a Hat in Times, like a really good
yeah,
indie.
the two
Um,
the gold standards.
yeah. But it's like on a Steam Deck, playing it for like, I load it up and I play it for like 15 minutes, it's fine. But it's like when I actually put time into it and I'm like, okay, let's try and play more of this, it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of a bit repetitive. It's a bit like, it needs a bit of polish. But if you play it in small chunks, it's a completely different experience. And I think that's what the Steam Deck's enabled. It's been like, it's enabled me to enjoy games that maybe I wouldn't have played otherwise, I would say. And
Yeah. That's what yeah, I think that's what yeah
I played the
makes a lot of sense.
entirety
Like,
of Oct.
that's how
I
I want to
played
get
the
one.
entirety of Octodad on a Steam
Yeah,
Deck. I was like, so I went around my sister's house and I was like, I had just got the Steam Deck and I was putting it on the TV dock and it was like, is there any game you want me to play? And she was like, Octodad, and I was like, why? Why Octodad? And she was like, because I think it would be funny. And I was like, okay. So I just sat and I played the entirety of Octodad and I was like, okay, that
did
was
you
a
know
game.
what so Dad was before? Or was it just like based on the name and icon?
I don't. I think she'd maybe seen it on YouTube before. I don't know. But then I
Okay.
was like, okay, I finished the game entirely on Steam Deck. It was pretty fun. It's quite short. Um,
Yeah, it's a
and
funny game, not a
and then you came around and you were like, oh, I think it was Andy. Hello, Andy was like, it's a multiplayer game. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah.
yeah.
You can set it up so each controller controls a different limb. So we played 4-person co-op Octodad on the Steam Deck, and I was like,
Yeah,
this
I
is
didn't even realize this was
hilarious.
a thing. Yeah.
Um, So yeah, some of my favorite party games. Plate Up. I've only ever played Plate Up on the Steam Deck, and I think I have like 10 to 12 hours. That's a great party game for the Steam Deck. Fling to the Finish is great. Tricky Towers is great. There's tons of little party games I play in it. But yeah, for games I've played my just single player on the deck, I'd say some of my favorites this year were Super Mario Galaxy. I think was it pipped the post. I sat down and I enjoyed the entire thing. Um, Octodad Deadliest Catch, Cat Quest, SpongeBob Rehydrated, and then I started playing Blasphemous on my Steam Deck, and it's a really good platform for it because it has this awesome pixel art that runs like natively at like
Yeah.
480p or something, and then
Yeah.
it's also capped to 60 FPS, and it runs at 60 FPS on the Steam Deck, so it's a really good use, and it is like a really good experience on the Steam Deck, and that was actually something that I wanted to play more of it. So it's like I was like, oh, I'll move this game over to my main PC and play it on there because then I commit more time for it because it's a Metroidvania game essentially. It's like a Souls-like
Yeah.
Metroidvania game. So it's like if you're not going to play it all in one sitting and you go away from it and come back to it, Metroidvanias have that thing where it's like um,
You need map
yeah,
memory,
you need kind
otherwise
of like
you
you
lose.
need like a memory of where things are on the map
Yeah.
in order to play those
Yeah.
games, so that they're
I
hard if you go away and do something else.
I think the next I don't know the next, but like a revolution in Metroidvania might be just like making it where you come back, the map would like kind of tell you. Well, I mean, I don't know what it is, but like some way, a mechanism of like trying to like explain to you what you already know in a more intuitive way. I think that's what's needed. Then it'd be more of a pick or put down, pick back up later sort of scenario. But at the moment, it's play it in one sitting, otherwise you're
But
kind of
yeah, those
screwed.
are
Well, not maybe
best
not one sitting, but consecutively.
best games on Steam Deck. Best soundtrack award. So I think for me, the cop out answer for me would be Super Mario RPG. I've been playing Super
Yeah.
Mario RPG this year, and I'll talk about Super Mario RPG later when I talk about games 2023. If you count as a game 2023, we'll see about that. But I love the soundtrack to this, but it's a cop-out answer to me because the entire time it lets you switch between the modern version of the soundtrack and the classic version, and I was constantly switching to the classic SNES version of the soundtrack, and I was
Right.
like, I much
Not the
prefer
new one.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I had to go for
It's a
best
banger.
if I had to go for best soundtrack of a game that was released in 2023, Super Mario Wonder has an amazing soundtrack that is legitimately really
Yeah,
good and is not
there's some good ones.
it's not like derivative of the previous Mario games. Like
No,
the
no.
underground theme in Super Mario Wonder, give it a listen. It is like its own thing. Like a lot of the time, the underground theme in Mario games is just like a kind of poor remix of the original underground theme, but it's like Wonder's its own thing in a lot of ways, and the soundtrack to it is genuinely really, really good. And for games that I played that came out before 2022, I would like to give a special. I think some of my favorites were Bowser's Fury, like Lape Lap Cat might be my favorite song of that I
Yeah,
listened to this year.
that was good.
And Kirby and the Forgotten Land, amazing soundtrack. And
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about those. Yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey has an amazing, like everyone knows Jump Up, like that song. Amazing song. And the entire soundtrack's great. Like I love like Bowser's
I think
Kingdom. It's like that dark brooding theme of like it's like
I know.
it's like this feudal like song to it.
Yo, yeah. I know when I was talking about like, like this is like primarily soundtrack, but I have to want to just mention Nintendo's sound design as well. It's just very good.
Yeah, and I think this is something you can only really learn by either purchasing a Nintendo system or emulating games. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
if you're a PC gamer like me, it's just something I've never truly explored since I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, I had a Game Boy Color, I had a DS, I had a Wii.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Same.
there was tons of games that I never played on those systems, and I never got the late systems. Like I've only got a Switch like recently-ish because my family got one, so that's how I was using it, sort of thing. Whereas I was like, you know what, I already have this big catalog of PC games. The Steam Deck is more like interesting to me because I have like over 1,000 games on Steam, and it's like, well, I can just go and play those now on the Steam Deck, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, just a game changer.
Game changer.
Exactly.
So if I go into best DLC of 2023, I don't think you had any for this one, but I've got a couple just quickly.
No.
This is the wrong timestamp. One I really enjoyed this year was, I'm a big fan of Walkabout Mini Golf, the VR game, and Upside Down Town. It's like an MC Escher painting. It's just got those.
Yeah.
I think that this map was so creative, and I loved playing it. And constantly, I was just walking around and looking around and being like, "Man, this looks fucking cool." Like I know you're a big fan of architecture, and I think you would get like a lot of
MC Escher as well.
Yeah, like an appreciation out of just walking around and looking at this golf map that's played on the side of buildings and upside down.
It looks great. It looks great in pancake mode. I assume it's even better, like actually in VR with the perspective. Like being there,
actually able to like walk around or even fly around as you can do in Walkabout Mini Golf. It is a really great DLC, and I think it was one of my favorites of this. I keep wanting to say this. We're currently 2024, so if I say this year, then I'm talking about 2023.
It's still 2023 until we finish this video or this.
And another one I was playing this year was primarily on the Steam Deck. Vampire Survivors Emergency Meeting, a Mogus DLC. I've really been enjoying playing this on my Steam Deck.
I think you talked about the feature, but I don't think I've heard your like a full opinion on it yet.
It's great. You can unlock a bunch of. There's like a Polis map with the DLC. So Polis is one of the maps in the game, which is like a lava laboratory, and that lets you unlock new Among Us characters. So you can get the crewmate, who then has like a megaphone that has like a knockback on it, which you can then upgrade by getting a mini crewmate that mixes with it and creates a new upgraded weapon. But his passive is every time you fully upgrade a weapon, your stats increase, which is like really useful. You can unlock a ghost character that can't die or damage, but has like a med-based scan thing that does healing, but then you can make them do damage by making it so healing deals damage. It's like there's a lot of complicated stuff you can do in Vampire Survivors.
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah.
I'm still trying to fully explore. Like I think I've unlocked quite a bit of stuff. Like I've finished the map and fully explored it, but there's still way more stuff. Like Vampire Survivors is a game. It's like, oh, this is pretty simple, and then it's like, oh, this is actually, it looks like a puddle, but it's actually like an ocean of like depth of like actual stuff you can get into with it. And yeah, it's a really fun game. I was playing it like last week when I was at the doctor's office in the waiting room. I was just playing a round of Vampire Survivors. So yeah, really good game to play.
Good single player experience, yeah.
What should we go on to now? Demos, betas. So I always like to give out shout outs to my favorite demos, betas of the game, betas of the year, because usually they're games. So these are games that are specifically I played demos and betas of that went on and released this year. So these are games that I want to say you should get them, but I've only played the demo. So I don't want to recommend someone a game based on the solely on my
Yeah,
review of the
but
demo because they could have flaws past that point. But
but
these are
they had
games
it.
I've
But we
really
want
enjoyed.
to reward. But I think we should reward like good demos and things because like we go on about it all the time. And, like we have the whole spotlight series and like trying out
Yeah.
demos. So we might as
So
well
first up here,
reward people with good demos.
one of my favorite demos of the year was System Shock reboot. Tony, another reboot we got coming in. I think this game was really good. Like Night Dive does it best when they not only create something that looks and plays amazing, but is also faithful to the original. And this feels
Yeah.
like a game that is very much rooted in the past while also bringing it to the future. It's their first like full-on remake rather than a remaster. I mean, their MO has always been
Yeah.
like, let's take the original thing and bring it up to like a more modern standard in terms of like slightly better pixels or resolution
Yeah.
or frame rate just running under a better engine.
Yeah.
This is them. I don't think this is Keck's engine, is it? I think this is actually just Unreal Engine 4. And
thought it
yeah,
was. I can't remember now, but yeah.
I can't describe how good looking this is while also be like it's the big chunky pixels they use
Yeah.
for the environments. It's like it's very good looking while also being very retro.
But it also has like good like lighting that is like bounces off the retro stuff really well.
Then of course another one of my favorites was Dredge. I absolutely adored this game. I don't think I have ever played a Eldritch horror fishing game, but Dredge was the first one, and I gotta say, it really impressed me. I'm not usually into fishing games, but I just found this one really fun and charming, and I was always, wanting to see what was around the corner. I was always surprised about what was coming. So yeah. Next one was another surprise for me. This one kind of came out of nowhere for me. RoboCop Rogue City. What has been described as a AA game budget. Sort of the idea of you don't need this, millions of dollar budget to make like a AAA game. You can just take like a solid IP, got a good studio behind it, like Tachyon, I think is their name, and because they did the Terminator game IP one that people really liked.
Oh yeah,
and
called? Like Resistance or something.
Terminator Resistance. Yeah, I haven't played it, but from what I played of the RoboCop game, if I'd buy that for $1. I know the reference now that you've explained. I still haven't seen RoboCop. I still haven't watched
the reference at least.
I was on Amazon today and it was like, do you want to watch RoboCop? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it said RoboCop 2014. I was like, that's not the one I want to watch, is it? Is RoboCop 2014 bad or?
It's not faithful. I would still. I'll give it a try. Give it a try.
In true podcast tradition, there was a new Resident Evil remake that came out this year / new Resident Evil game, and I had to play it because it was Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw. That was the actual name of the demo. Was Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw.
I thought that's hilarious.
But yeah, here's me playing.
Yeah, because you didn't know the reference. Like I knew what the chainsaw guy did, and it's like you're like, and I was like, okay, that's quite the reference.
Well, I played Resident Evil 4 like years ago. I didn't get very far, and I played the Wii version. And
oh god, the Wii version's awful, isn't it? Yeah, I think you said at the time it was like Ooh.
I don't know if the Wii version.
It's not the worst version. It's not
but,
good, but it's not the worst version.
But Resident Evil 4 has actually been remade several times. Like there's a GameCube version, there's a Wii version, there's a PS2 version. They keep re-releasing Resident Evil 4.
What I played.
And what they've done with this game, from what I've seen, is it is very much bringing it more towards that Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 gameplay style, where it's much more modernized and feels much more fun to play. Like I played Resident Evil 3 this year, the remaster, and I played the Resident Evil 2 remaster last year, and I really enjoyed those. And I think this compared to those, it did a really good job with that, and it seems pretty faithful to Resident Evil 4. I don't know. I've never played Resident Evil 4 really. Yeah. I now own Resident Evil 4, the VR version, on my MetaQuest, so I can play that at some point, which is going to be...
The start is very faithful, just like some like line delivery being slightly off and some jokes like not hitting as hard, but like it's, in terms of like modern time. They changed some stuff as well, which like just like small things to make
And
it
the
different,
final
which
one
kind
I
of
wanted to
did like Dead
mention,
Space.
Ghost Runner 2. I think my only
Oh yeah,
problem
good
with
demo,
this,
yeah.
I love Ghost Runner 1. I think it's an amazing game. And I think Ghost Runner 2 takes
Yep.
that first game and kind of just improves most things by adding stuff like I think the vehicle section was really fun. I think it was a little rough around the edges with mouse and keyboard controls, but apparently it was sort of designed for controller. So um, whether they fixed that up, I don't know. My only issue with it was I wasn't a big fan of the larger environments. I think having the smaller arenas made it a lot easier to move around and know where the enemies were without getting lost about where they were and stuff like that. And of course, the first game had stuttering issues, and this game has stuttering issues as well. So technically, I've got to take points off it for that because
Yeah.
you also had a
It's
game of
unfortunate.
2023 you wanted to talk about, but you decided that the technical
Yeah.
issues had ruined the game for you. So,
Yeah, I don't, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, my I'll just quickly go through my honorable mentions. El Paso Everywhere, On Guard, Loddle Naught, Mr. Run and Jump, and No More Rainbows are all really awesome games. And if you want to if you want to see more of any of the games I've mentioned, make sure to check out our Tangerine Spotlights or Next Fests is probably where they'll be. So if you want to see any more about those, that is where they'll be. Next up, should we do updated in 2023 first?
Yeah, I think that's similar to, yeah.
Because I think we're getting towards like the big categories now where you can
Yeah.
jump in soon.
Yeah.
Um, so let me start. I'll start with my honorable mentions actually, and then we'll go more up towards
Yeah.
like my bigger game. So honorable mentions:
Who wins, yeah.
Dusk HD / Workshop update. I played Dusk HD about a few weeks ago. I quite enjoyed the game. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as other boomer shooters I played this year. I think if I had to pick my favorite New Blood game, it would probably be a Medieval at the moment.
Okay.
And even against like more Quake style boomer shooters, I think I preferred H-Rot, which came out of early access this year and I played. The one thing I'll say about Dusk is the movement is really good. Like they nail the movement in that game. Like it is like designed to be speed run. Like you can bunny hop and you can get up insane speed. And I think it was a Steam forums post where somebody posted like, "Hey, I can get like insane speed and I can just jump across the map and get to the exit in like a minute, completely invalidating the map." And I think it was Dave Ostry, one of the developers, replying to them. He's like, "Our game is designed to be sped run. Please just try and break it as much as possible. Like try and go as fast as possible.
It's not broken.
Like there's when you finish the game, there's awards for like, hey, there's like a pacifist award, or there's like a speedrun award for beating the game faster than the dev can and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. I love that stuff. I love like there's something I myself did in Quake 1 was after I finished Quake 1, I went back and I just tried to complete it as quickly as possible. So yeah, some of these games we haven't done Tangerine videos on because the whole Christmas, New Year's thing, we've been super busy.
Yeah.
So there will be future Tangerines on some of these. I have footage of them, but there will be a Tangerine on Dusk. Counter-Strike 2 came out this year, Tony, which was like a really big update release. But for me personally, the stuff I love about Counter-Strike was missing from this release. I feel like it was sort of...
that's disappointing.
I would have loved to seen it released with stuff like, custom game modes like Arms Race or, custom servers like going on surf maps. Like the fact that you have to download stuff beforehand. You can't download custom content from the servers. It just adds these artificial barriers that don't need to be there and just really slows down the ability to
experience in a way. Yeah.
To get into these custom content servers, which is the stuff I really enjoy. And then Sea of Thieves this year had the private servers update and the Monkey Island update. And I wanted to say, it's something it's been something I've been asking for years because I play with a lot of people who are less experienced Sea of Thieves players, and going into a lobby and trying to just play like PvE content and then getting completely wrecked by sweaty PvP players. Like if it's just me playing, sure, whatever. I don't mind, but it's when, the game's sort of becoming unplayable for me and more casual friends.
Yeah,
But
because like I didn't want to play. Like I was waiting for this update because I didn't want to play until there's only like PvE. So maybe I'll probably check it out.
well, yeah, I think I'm gonna play it soon at some point. So if you wanna check
Yeah,
it out, but I put it in here because I think it's a really cool update, and I've been asking it for years, but I haven't played it yet, so I cannot
yeah, that's fair.
talk about it because I haven't played the update. But I do love Sea of Thieves, so uh, let's break it down. Let's start with Half Life
Break it
One.
down.
Let me break it down for you.
Oh,
Half Life One got an update this year. It is the 25th anniversary. I think it's 25 years since Half Life One came out, right? And yeah,
sounds about right. Yeah,
I played through the entirety of Half Life One and its expansions. I think last year, absolutely loved it and adored it. Uh, But yeah, I think they put so much life back into this game. I mean, you can see here in this footage, the Half-Life deathmatch servers just exploded with so many people playing the game and getting the game finally officially Steam Deck verified, rather than being. I think it was playable to not playable sort of status. Like I think it was playable but only kind of playable. Um, but yeah, I
barely
can't.
working.
We've got some unofficial. We've got some official maps added in, like they added the uplink campaign to the game. Deathmatch. They basically expanded what was possible in the Half-Life One map engine now, so you can just make these beautiful maps, which they showed off. Sort of similar to like, how like when Quake One got remastered, they made these like really beautiful looking maps for it, and it's like we now have those for Half-Life One now. And of course, it wouldn't be Half-Life One if I wasn't playing Crossfire, which is like notoriously one of the most popular maps in Half-Life One Deathmatch, where it's a map where you fight people, but there's also a bunker where you can launch a nuke that will kill the entire server. It's just something you wouldn't get in like any other like
No,
multiplayer game these days. But it is just
yeah,
it's almost like a
such a
relic of the
cool.
time.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's such a cool idea
great
though.
update from Valve, and it's good to see them giving
Yep.
love to their old games because historically, Valve just does not like talking about the past and reviving their old projects. So it's really cool to see that they actually put some time and effort, and even going as far as getting like the NoClip crew to make a documentary in Half-Life One with all the original developers is really cool to watch.
Yeah, that's really
Um,
good to see. Yeah.
Next up, Tony, we have an update to one of my favorite games, Fortnite. We have Lego Fortnite and Rocket Racing. So we saw this, and you were kind of like, I don't know about this, but I've been playing Lego Fortnite
Yeah.
recently, and I think it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it
Especially,
looked. I would say like the combat and the stuff and the gathering looked better than the building to me.
yeah. Yeah, but and I think the building's interesting because it's not like, oh, you can place this anywhere. It's like, it kind of has to fit into physical Lego bricks as well. And there's even
Yeah,
like pre-made buildings you can build, and it will make you like build them piece by piece to show you how they would go together if you bought like an
yeah,
actual Lego
which is
set,
really good.
which I think is really
Yeah,
cool. Um, so yeah, I was testing this out. I was playing, turning another Lego ray traced game. Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I
The
have
second one.
I have more footage of this on my PC, so we'll do a tangerine on Lego Fortnite
Yeah,
and Rocket Racing at some point. But I would say the main thing for me was, um, I think it was really cool to play, but I don't. Friend asked me what's the main thing that keeps you going, and I'm not 100% sure. There's like a thing where you
yeah.
can
A
keep
goal.
keep upgrading your village, so it almost has like that. Like what's it called? Colony sim sort of thing, like an Animal Crossing,
Yeah,
where you're
yeah,
trying to get more villagers
yeah,
to come to your village, and you build houses for them and beds and stuff, and it's like, and you can upgrade your village, and there's more tech you can unlock. Um, and I think the core thread is like you want to try and explore and find out like what's on the planet, but also um, you're very limited to what you can build within the beginning. You unlock more recipes for things as you level up, but it's like I just want to kind of to build a basic house, but I was missing so many of the basic blocks I needed for that I felt like I had to try and
yeah.
just push through the
I
progression system.
I think as well as like from what I was viewing like when you were streaming, like it's in pretty like in law like you could like easily solve some of the issues we're having with building. It's like, oh, why don't they just let you have these things? But I guess you got more of it later on, which that helped you. But it's just, yeah, it just seemed weird the way they
And
locked
then
it.
we had Rocket Racing, which is essentially um,
I
a
was,
it took Rocket League is owned by Epic Games at this point, and it takes that Rocket League out of the football PvP game, and it's like, well, what if we just make like a Trackmania style racing game with rocket cars and see how that goes? And yeah,
yeah,
it was pretty fun. I really enjoyed it,
I
and
it was way more creative than I thought it was gonna be. Like I thought, well,
like I
okay,
think
sure,
that
there's some
the
mechanics,
thing that's
but
kind of crazy about Fortnite is Meta is trying to create the metaverse, but I think the closest things we have right now are stuff like Roblox, Fortnite, and VR chat. I think these are the best
yeah,
metaverse stuff we have. Like
100%.
the stuff you can create inside of games like Fortnite and Roblox and stuff is just nuts to think of.
Yeah,
And it's like I would go as far as to say Lego Fortnite and Rocket Racing are like almost separate games from Fortnite, even to a point where you were
oh
like,
yeah,
I wanted to.
100%.
You were curious to try out Lego Fortnite, and you were like, "Oh, I don't want to download the entire
Have you?
tier of Fortnite." But I was like, "Oh, you can
Yeah,
actually go to the store page, and you can specifically just download Lego Fortnite without having to download all
yeah,
the other content."
which is great. Still haven't done that yet, but yeah, that is a great addition. But I think going back to like the actual like racing though, like I feel like I didn't. They were like they took the mechanics you can do with the Rocket League and
Yeah,
went, oh, we can make map found it. And I thought like being like on the
Tony,
ceiling and things and like
ray
just be crazy
traced
to me.
Rocket League. It's finally here. You love to see it. I got that ray trace
You
car.
you you decrease the performance for ray tracing.
Yeah, yeah. I
No,
think
but
I
like yeah, like the boot, like the speed, the sense of speed is like enormous. Like even just watching it. So
Yeah, that's really cool. I think Fortnite killed it this year with its new, you
yeah,
know, content. And then
it's like the end latter half of the year, but yeah,
I think two of my favorite updates to a game in this year would have to be World of Warcraft Classic, with World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore and World of Warcraft Classic Season of Discovery. And we even did
you
a
got the
spotlight this year of me playing Mage Healer, which is something that has never appeared in a World of Warcraft game.
well,
Which I was like,
you talk about Mage Healer, but you're not talking about the main update with the Warlock.
oh, Warlock Tank. Yeah, they did look really
Yeah,
cool
that's what
with the
we're really
demon.
here
Yeah,
for. Yeah,
but yeah, but yeah, I healed the entirety of Dead Minds while not understanding how the class worked, and that's the beauty of classic World of Warcraft. Everyone's kind of,
yeah.
I would
Well,
say,
you
like
made it work.
people are usually not toxic in the game. They're like, okay, maybe you're a new player. Or I think the thing with Season Discovery is everyone's trying to figure out how to play.
Yeah,
So everyone's just kind
yeah.
of like a bit less, elitist when it comes to that sort of stuff. And I found, because playing through hardcore, I played several classes. I played to level 25 as a rogue. Enjoyed that, but I basically was like, I would like more bags. That's always the thing with Classic where I'm like, I need more bag space. So I made a mage just to level tailoring, and then I basically just fell in love with playing mage in Classic. And I was like, I'm really enjoying this. And I played all the way to level 25 on my mage, and then I died. And I was like, ah, shit. And I went back and played on my rogue again. That's why you always have a backup character just in case.
Yep.
Um, and
Yep.
then and then I was like, oh, the level cap for Season Discovery is level 25. I got to level 25 on my mage on Season Discovery being a healer. And then I think by that point, I'd played so much WoW, but specifically, I'd leveled up to level 25 like 3 times at that point. I was like, you
Oh
know
right.
what?
Jesus.
I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna play something else, and then maybe I'll
Christ.
come back for the
Yeah.
next. The thing I think is really cool is doing the phase system, because it gives a chance to more casual players to be like, okay, I'm gonna level up, and then I'm gonna go off and do something else, and then maybe come back, sort of thing. I
Yeah.
think it makes it easier, but
Yeah.
also it means that the content isn't immediately over straight away. It's not like people are going to power level to 60 in a week, get to 60, and then
Yeah,
go,
it's a really
okay,
good idea.
I finished
Yeah.
the game. Or it makes stuff way more interesting, because it's like, well, what is the best in slot item for a level 25? What is the best in slot item for a level 40? And that stuff
I
gets changed because they've turned certain dungeons into raids now. Like Gnomeregon is going to be a raid for level 40, and what was it called? the dungeon in Ashenvale. Ashenvale's a giant PvP zone, and I PvP'd in there. There's like these giant bosses you fight, and you can unlock like these. You can unlock like these level 25 mounts that you only use in Ashenvale, which is another interesting thing. Like they're experimenting with tons of shit with Classic, and this is as close to Classic Plus as we're gonna get, so far with Blizzard, which is really cool to see, considering how successful stuff like RuneScape, '07 is, and other games that have gone,
Yeah.
let's try and add more content to old games in that style. And I think this is a
That's-
really positive thing for
I was gonna say
games like WoW.
the level cap like slowly like increasing. Like I assume that also gives them like feedback to the developers and like slightly change what they might have done otherwise, like in terms of doing it
Yeah.
all at once. Just it's kind of interesting as well.
I think the really cool thing as well with Season of Discovery was, I'm going to talk mostly about Season of Discovery because hardcore is cool,
Yeah.
but it is mostly just WoW Classic with hardcore on top of it. And I think
Yeah,
Season of Discovery is the stuff
Discovery
for the
seems more
new
interesting.
stuff.
Yeah.
I think the cool way they could have just gone, you know what, you've got new spells to buy at the class trainer, go crazy in it. That would have been okay, but it's like the fact you had to find runes and decipher them, or you basically, when the game came out, there was abilities nobody knew how to get, and it took like a while. It took like some abilities took like a week before people figured out how you actually went around the world and unlocked them. And you just did this by just exploring the world. Like I didn't look anything up, and I just went and I was like, hey, there's a guy that's been frozen in ice. What if I like cast fire spells on him until he got unfrozen? And it was like, oh, I need more people to help me with this because I can't apply enough fire stacks quickly enough. So I then found another mage. I found a warlock with Immolate, and then we got together and we all like naturally came together into a group, and then we took down this ice thing, and we got the rune for a new ability. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I think one of the biggest strengths of Classic is its ability for you to naturally socialize, and I think that's always been a big strength for the game. It's like,
You almost have to.
it's like I'm in chat and I'm looking for a Deadmines group, or people are like, "Oh, you're a healer or whatever. You should come and do this with us." And or it's like, I need to do a group quest, and this guy stood next to me, and he needs this group quest as well. I should just invite him to a group, and then through that, you just start talking to people. Like, there's so many people I just, random people I just started talking about. I'm like, hey, how long have you been playing Classic WoW? You knew, like, there was some people that were like literally had never played WoW before, and were just like, hey, I wanted to play the new hardcore. I wanted to play the new Season of Discovery. And I think it was like a really good boon to have the two come out so close to each other. Because I think it like did create a lot of hype for one another. It was like people that were just interested in Season of Discovery wanted to come back and try out Classic WoW again, so they played hardcore to try and get back into it. And then people who wanted to play hardcore, they could take a break from hardcore by playing Classic,
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot
like
of
Season of
sense.
Discovery.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It is like definitely fed into like the excitement for sure.
Yeah, I think if I was going to pick a best update, I would probably. Oh, it's tough. I think WoW's been really good. Like WoW Classic specifically. I mean, I think Blizzard as a company is doing not great, but I think the WoW Classic team has been a shining beacon for Blizzard this year.
Yeah.
And hopefully
Yeah.
we can see some big changes as Microsoft takes over. We'll have to wait and see. But I think if there's one thing I would
Only hope.
say, don't touch the WoW Classic team. They are doing a really good job. Give them more autonomy.
Yeah,
if you
hopefully
can.
the numbers backs that up because I assume they can see that. So yeah, hopefully that continues going forward.
But yeah, WoW Classic Fortnite really good. Shall we talk about our best best mod 2023?
Yeah, I've got a lot to say about this one though. So I
You want
think
me
this
to-
is you go first.
You go first because I actually want to rest my voice and get a drink. So
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay. Well, believe it or not, hang on, I need to actually do the timestamps. There we go. Believe it or not, all my mods are Skyrim mods.
What? Which is the
okay.
what's the first link I'm clicking on?
I'm just going in order of what I sent. I'm just going to go in order. I
Ordinator.
kind of Ordinator.
And you've assured me none of these are 18 plus mods
Well,
because
if you open any of them and see if you get cancelled to make sure,
yeah,
they
because
shouldn't be.
my
Should.
Nexus account has it, so if there's an 18 plus mod, it gets
Yeah.
blocked on it, so I don't have to look at it.
This has nothing to do with the awards. I just want to say that one of my core mods is a technically it's not a core, like it's not a core in terms of, like you don't need it. I just think I had to have it. It's the Slongs of Skyrim mod. It's a core mod. I don't care what
Okay.
anyone says. It's,
So
if you're gonna get
what does this Ordinator
a few
mod
more mods.
do? Something to do with
So
perks.
yeah, so it completely overhauls the skill trees, which I guess yeah, there's no attributes. There's only skill trees. Like it completely changes everything. Like I would argue, like for example, okay, I'll give an example of a vanilla one. Like you know, like the you get like really like a lot of RPGs fall for this. You get like really boring skills, like
Right.
oh, you do 20% more damage, or with like X type of attack. This has that, but it's like way better integrated and like can actually like boost it in
Yeah,
a way that's more interesting.
static damage scaling or damage resistance is
Yeah,
not
hey, or
usually very
more,
interesting.
even worse, which is what Skyrim is terrible for. It's like more efficiency. It's just like, oh, same damage, but it's more efficient. It's like this kind of turns on the head. It's like, no, same amount of mana, but you get more damage out. So like that's the boring ones. There's other ones like in can you go to a couple of images? I'm trying to find Conjuration. That's the most interesting one.
That's the
I
second
went
one. Hold
down
on.
yeah,
I'm looking at it now.
second one. Yeah, Conjuration Destruction. I went Conjuration Destruction. The Conjuration is so interesting. So like in the base game, like I think late game you can like summon two summons. In this, like it's like based upon how much magic you scale. So I think you get like quite high. And there's a whole necromancy section where like you can like summon skeletons and like have them die,
Is
or you
this
can summon
under
like
conjuration?
yeah, this is Conjuration. So it's like
Undead
undeath and like
crown,
summoning
corpse
demons.
gas, necromaster,
Yeah,
shock to
and there's
life.
like rat stuff. You can like summon some rats that like when you enter combat and they die at the end. It's like it's just like some really imaginative stuff. And there's like destruction, for example. Like it completely changes like how all the elements work. It's like suddenly like in base vanilla, like Skyrim, in base vanilla Skyrim, like fire is like the only reason to go down there. But this like which makes the frost and the lightning like far more powerful and like more useful. Like so you have to like switch between the elements.
I should mention. I forgot to mention this. Me and Tony haven't told each other any of our
No,
awards so far, so we're just
no,
learning
no.
about them now. So I don't know anything
Yeah,
about this yet.
but Ordinator completely changed like the way like yeah. There's some other mods that like influences as well, but like this completely changed the way I wanted to approach making a character, I suppose, making a class sort of thing. Like trying to get it optimized and things, which is very interesting.
Oh, the lock
Um,
picking tree. You love to see it.
I can't remember if it was this mod or another mod, but it may. I know it's another mod, but it actually it helped it combined with this. Yeah, but yeah, this is just fantastic. It completely changes how you like approach the game. It's just far more interesting. And like I've only done the magic side of stuff, but there's like interesting block in base Skyrim is so boring, but it's like makes it more of like a Sekiro thing,
So
sort of. Not as
lock
advanced, but
under lock picking bait, you can set like bear traps or
yeah, oh
something.
yeah. They added trap stuff and like dodge. I think you can like dodge roll to set traps in lockpicking as well. It's just like some really cool stuff you can do.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was doing bone collector. I was collecting bones. I was like it's like a perk was like everyone drops bones. You have to like combine bones to get skeletons, and then you have like an army of skeletons that always follow you. It's just really cool. It just completely changes how you play the game. But yeah,
That
that's
seems really cool.
I could talk about this for ages.
Would you recommend this? So your mod list, right? Is it more designed for somebody who's very experienced with Skyrim? Is it? Would you recommend
Yeah.
any of these mods for a first playthrough?
The, I would recommend Ordinary for first playthrough. I don't think I think you'd be bored of vanilla Skyrim. I think
Okay.
Ordinator changes it like without changing the difficulty or anything. It just makes it interesting. And it's not. There's more advanced stuff, but I think you can figure it out just fine. I was gonna say like I've tried like 3 different perk overhaul mods at this point, and this is by far the best one. The other ones are a bit. more finicky or a bit more specific, and it's like not as integrated with the vanilla mechanics. I think this is like a much better way to spice up
So
the vanilla mechanics and
for
make it
this
completely
Thief's
different.
Eye one, is it showing you that a person has stuff to be stole, or how does this
Yeah,
work?
I did. I can't quite remember, but I did read through some of the pitfall stuff, but I've not gone down it. But I believe it's like, yeah, it like shows people with like lots of like high value stuff on them,
Okay,
and like
right.
I think it show like important items and things as well. I believe, or I think it even like modifies the like, inventory to add more extensive items that you can steal, which I thought was interesting. But I've only done. I can only really tell you about the magic stuff because like I've gone like true mage, and as I will explain later, that you'll realize why I had to like choose one or the other. Whereas like in base Skyrim, that's not really a thing. But yeah, I don't want to get. I could talk about Ordinator for ages because like it is so in depth. There's like each tree has far more skills than in the vanilla Skyrim, and they're more interesting. So it's just
That's
far
cool.
better.
Do you want to move on
So
to the
yeah,
next one, or
yeah. We'll move on to the next one. Imperius
Imperius?
again.
Races of
So this
Skyrim.
is yeah. So this is only this. Well, sort of. I would say it only affects you at the start of the game, but this kind of re-put some of the stuff back from older Elder Scrolls games back. Um, so like back in the day, I think Oblivion had this. Like if you chose an elf, they would have actually like physically more mana and other like
Oh, like
more
racials.
significant buffs and debuffs. More importantly, that debuffs, right? So like if I went an elf, I would get more mana but like less health. So I went. I don't know why it's made. I can't remember what race it was though. But I went one where it's like I got more mana but less stamina.
Okay. So you
So like it
stamina
basically just
health
adds.
in Skyrim.
Yeah, you start normally you start at 100, 100, 100. I think if you go higher, if you start with like 150 mana, 100, 100, but like it never adds a debuff. Was like I started with like 120 mana, 100 health, and then 75 stamina. Just like
Okay.
25% less of like from
Yes,
the
it says
start.
here like orcs can berserk, which I guess means you
Yeah.
deal more
So
damage or something.
on top of that, you got given this mod it adds extra powers to each race as well, and then there's like you then get given depending on what race you've chosen like a quest, like a small almost like it's not it wasn't as simple as this, but it was like, oh, if you killed like 25 bandits as an orc, you'll unlock like a super berserk sort of thing. I can't remember what it is, but like you get a
When
quest that you
entering
if you
combat,
complete.
gain 25% movement speed and 300
Yeah, there's
magicka and stamina regeneration. Bonuses
they
gradually
just
decay to 0 over 20 seconds.
they just adds like way more interesting class bonuses that makes you like think like makes you feel like if you play a different character with a different race, you'll actually be a different character. Like it felt impactful, and it in RPG. I don't know why this wasn't a part of the base game, considering other games maybe not as in depth as this, but like something similar. I don't know why they removed it from the
Right. Oh no. I'm alone with Skyrim mods.
mage at this point. That's
Oh,
not
you're back.
that's not entirely true.
I did just went down
Oh
for a second. I don't know if it was you or me.
oh, I don't know.
I haven't
Stream looks
dropped.
okay to me.
I haven't dropped any frames, but you went. I
At
couldn't
least the
hear what you.
stream's okay.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I couldn't
At
hear what
least
you
the stream's
said
okay.
for the past couple
Yeah.
of sentences.
No, I'm just saying I'm glad they added this. Like it adds it back and actually makes you feel unique as a character, or at
Yeah,
least helps
I was reading the
as a
orc
starting
one.
point to feel unique.
Apparently, you can get like a shockwave attack, and then if you
Yeah,
stagger 150 enemies with it, it's like a quest reward. You then get another
yeah,
ability. So that's what you were talking
yeah.
about.
That's like every race has an objective to complete to get another bonus, which is
That's
really
cool.
interesting. Yeah, like actually adding RPG mechanics to a game. Imagine that.
Adding RPG mechanics
Speaking,
to Skyrim, you wouldn't believe it.
yeah. Right, the next one's a big one, but I think I can explain it simply. But
This
this
is
will
one of my
explain why I had
favorite.
to like choose
This is one of
mage or
my
not.
favorite demos for the year. On guard. What's this?
So on guards. Oh man. Somehow this mod alone makes it. I've not played like Souls games properly. Like I played a little bit of Bloodborne,
These
but like this
screenshots
mod
are interesting.
alone. Yeah, the screenshots are terrible. I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell they're showing. I watched some videos on it, and it's like 'cause I think I got recommended it from like another like mod, like a mod series of like what to like try and get mod to feel like this, and it's like from like a Dark Souls like mod experience. This single mod is insane. Yeah, someone with a great sword can like hit you and die like very quickly as a mage without a shield. So like this kind of forces you to like have a shield as a mage. It's like not something you really do in the base game. And more importantly, every single swing costs stamina. So I could like equip a greatsword, right? But I could swing it twice, then I'd have to wait for my stamina to regen. The mod does increase stamina regen quite a lot, but it still makes it like me not having a stamina build makes it like I can't use a greatsword. So I was going mana. It's very interesting. It just means that you kind of like actually have to think about your build and like if you're going like mana health or stamina. It's just very interesting. Uh, it just makes it combat is more brutal. Like I've died multiple times. Like oh, I'm suddenly dead because I didn't think about being like someone coming behind me and stabbing me with a dagger, or like even an orc with a greatsword just like beheads me instantly. It's like oh okay, interesting. It's just it's a great mod. I think I turned some of the settings off. Like some of the stagger stuff was a bit stupid, so I turned them off.
Well, that's the
But
beauty of modding.
overall,
You can customize the game how you want to
yeah,
play it, right?
yeah. And if they haven't added it, there's always a mod that mods the mod.
Uh,
Or
okay.
you can mod the mod yourself if you
Mod
have
the
those skills,
mod.
I suppose. But yeah, that the sayings were yeah, because then they made arrows like bow and arrow stuff like stagger far too much. I think it was meant to be like for like getting hit with the like if you don't block with a sword. So I have a dual wield blocking mod, so like you can like even if you have something in your offhand, you have a sword, you can always block with your sword. And it made it like if you're using a sword like far more useful. But yeah, I was actually considering as a mage to equip a shield because of this mod. It's just so interesting. It completely changes the dynamic
Well, these mods,
of the actual
do
encounter.
these mods have compatibility with each other, or just something you were trying to add together?
Uh, they're not explicitly. It's just the way they interact. They try to keep it. They try to change like parts of the game where it's like anything else, and then, like it wouldn't make other stuff completely incompatible. That's what so they're kind of like not quite vanilla plus, but like they're trying to keep it as vanilla like as possible. I would say. So that it makes it as compatible as possible. But so they don't explicitly have compatibility for each other. They just work together.
It
So
just
because of this
works.
mod, like I had to like focus on mage stuff because I couldn't. Whereas in base Skyrim, you'd be like, I've always gone like um single-handed sword and mage. Whereas like I didn't want it to be a spell sword this time. I just wanted to be pure mage. Whereas even before, like I go pure mage, I can still get a little bit of sword. But because my stamina was so bad, it's like I don't really want to use a sword. Dagger's like the only weapon I could really use. I want to use up my stamina. I just thought it was really interesting because like you have to actually put points in to use the weapons. Just yeah, I really like this one. Like it was like one mod that completely changed how you played and combined with Ordinator so well. Um,
Awesome.
so the next three kind of enhance this one, I want to say, but I want to talk about them because like they're kind of critical in like the feeling of the gameplay.
Combat
So
evolved.
a combat evolved is pretty simple. I don't need to really explain it. It makes enemies more aggressive. And they actually like have strategy and actually like try and surround you. Like that also massively changed things. Like it meant that orc with a great sword actually tried to behead you more often, tried to use their skills more often. And orcs had more stamina because of Imperius, which then meant they could use their skills more often, so it made them more powerful. As a mage, I hate berserkers, but I assume other classes, and not that it's multiplayer obviously, but just like for pretending like if you're like playing as an NPC, they would probably hate me as a mage. Some of the other builds, so because like, I could like get rid of bow and arrow guys really easily as a mage. But yeah, it's just like this just made the other add-ons like complete like it just actually enhanced it to actually be integrated. Like it's like one of the things is like you're talking about like did it integrate with other mods? Not explicitly. This just enabled the other mods to work better with the AI. So very
Animation
good mod.
motion revolution.
Yeah, so this one's interesting. I forgot how important this one was. I was gonna remove it. It was like, oh, this other one was like probably more important, but they're actually connected. So this makes movement and animation. This is the mod author explaining the concept. It's like quite not technical, but it's like more technical than you'd expect. Like he in this he's like explaining like how Skyrim does it, how other mods have done it, and it's like he's done it in a way where it's like the animation actually changes where you're moving. So if you cancel halfway through an animation, like the movement is actually calculated correctly, and the
Yeah,
animation and where your sword is in the animation actually then is calculated when you actually hit something. It's like so what you see on screen is actually what damage you're doing, which is not how base Skyrim works at all.
right.
And obviously it's an older game and kind of a
Yeah, that's
an,
quite a cool thing to
an
add.
older game. Let's say an older Bethesda games that doesn't quite live up to like the power of like other third person action games sort of thing. So this like adds that back in, and it's like makes On Guard feel much better. Like I guess because like even the AI, like you have to then use these animations. Like I can then actually dodge these animations correctly. Whereas before, I didn't even know this was a problem. But but when I previously modded Skyrim, it's like, oh, if I try and dodge a move, it's like it still might hit me because like it's not actually what's hitting me on screen. So this just fixes that, and it's brilliant. I would highly recommend this mod.
Dynamic
Equally, a
animation
very similar
replacer.
vein. Yeah, this is very similar vein. So before, I animations in base Skyrim are kind of shit, right? There are many animation mods, as you might imagine, but there used to be a mod that you had to install called Finis or FNIS. You had to run like an external script to get it to function if you added a new one. This completely removes that and just like uses like SKSE plugins to like dynamically change it. And one thing that's really interesting is that you can have like animation change depending on if you're holding a shield or if you've got heavy armor on, or if you're like if you're holding a specific type of weapon with an armor or something. That's like there's like there are conditions you can have that can change it throughout the game, and you don't have to run an external script to get it to work. You just install the animation; it just worked. It's a really good mod. I wish I'd heard about it before because I think it came out in 2021. But yeah, it's fantastic. There's now an open source project with the same idea as this because like it's more up to date than this one because like only one mod author was doing it, so now it's like more of a community thing. But
You said
it's
three.
still from this.
What's this mod? JK Skyrim. What's this one?
So JK Skyrim, the final mod of my thing, this basically just adds like far more detail to like every like city and every like little village around Skyrim. Like
Oh,
he's been slowly
Whiterun.
adding
That's
it.
where my
Yeah.
enemy lives.
But I've been using smaller versions of JK's stuff like through the couple of years ago, but like he's now done like all the cities and all the villages. Like he's now packaged it into one big one, and it's like the amount of detail is like so much better. Like it makes I still have questions of why Whiterun is like got these walls falling down, but it just seems way more lived in with like way more like detailed shops and things like a couple more added NPCs, like just to make it like feel
Do you ever use like higher
still in
resolution
depth.
textures or like AI
Oh
upscaling
yeah,
stuff at all?
yeah. I've got high resolution textures and things. So that I use. What's it called? I got like the mesh improvement mod, and then I've got like some parallax mods for like the rocks and I got some
Oh,
tree
okay.
mods as well.
I think
But
there's a mesh
they're
improve
really
thing
good.
for Fallout 4 as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
That makes
it's the
it
same guy, I
light. It
believe.
makes it lighter, but also run better.
Yeah,
Makes it
it
like
runs
lighter
better
and
and
runs
it's actually
better, and it
better
looks
modded.
better
Yep,
as well.
yeah. He got rid of like some really dumb like there's like misused triangles or like overused triangles that you can like remove and then put them somewhere else where it's more impactful.
Classic Bethesda. So you weren't playing and modding their newest game, Starfield, this year.
No, had no care for that Starfield. The didn't really understand they didn't really ever describe the universe of Starfield. I was like, I'll just stick with Skyrim. Until Todd Howard in November pushed an update for both Fallout 4 and Skyrim to
Breaking
push
everything.
yeah, just about more paid mods.
Yeah.
So I have to
Yeah.
fix that at some point. I would genuinely, I'd be playing it now if I could. But it is what it is. I have to go and
It
fix some
is what
stuff.
it is.
But no, like genuinely, like with the animation stuff combined with like the actual combat stuff is like it makes it look and feel, and then actually have mechanics to back it up really good, and like it's far less forgiving. Like I normally turn down the difficulty when I like add AI enhancement stuff, but this might like I didn't turn it down anymore, but like I turned it down before the AI stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, I need to actually pay attention and like actually think about my build, which is like, and the build actually felt fun as well. So it's just like it felt like a completely different game, despite the quests being exactly the same. Like I haven't touched the questing at all.
Yeah, I feel like when I asked you
So
what you were gaming on in 2023, you were like, "I'm modding Skyrim," like every year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Um,
this year it was different. Like when I last modded Skyrim, like I was like stuck trying to get stuff to work. This year, like I properly modded Special Edition, and it's like way more stable than old Skyrim. And I found mods that I actually enjoyed playing. So like I
well,
felt
I
like
got
finally found the
into
mechanics I wanted.
using Mod Organizer for the first time
Oh yeah.
for Lethal Company because I didn't want to use Thunderstore IO because it wanted to. It was like, hey, you can easily install mods for Lethal Company through Thunderstore IO. I was like, okay, and then it's like, yeah, we're an Overwolf
Oh
plugin, and I'm like,
god.
I don't want fucking Overwolf for my
Nope.
computer. Fuck that shit. So I was like, you
But
know
someone
what?
made a mod for Mod Organizer to make
Yeah,
it work.
and so you could
Yeah.
use Mod Organizer plugin through the Nexus, and
Considering like how much testing I had to do with like getting these like mods to work and like trying out other overhauls and things, like I don't think I would be able to do it without Mod Organizer because it doesn't touch the folder of the game. It just like adds it in when it loads it. So like you can just like quickly change stuff without
a
like
lot of
breaking
the
anything.
like tinkering and modding I've been doing this year or 2023 has been getting stuff to run on Linux on the Steam Deck or
Oh yeah,
um, just getting older games to run. Like a big tool for me is like the PC Gaming Wiki, and just
yeah,
like I played Bully earlier this year, and I had to install like the Silent patch. I had to install like
yeah,
different widescreen patches replacing icons with the HD versions from the mobile port of the game, and then installing different audio wrappers to try and fix the audio and stuff like that. Like a lot more of my modding stuff is just trying to fix stuff a lot of the time with older
yeah,
games.
yeah. Still
Um,
super essential and super useful. It's just yeah, mine was more changing the game entirely, or changing the feel of the game entirely. That's what I was aiming for.
should I talk about my? Because these are mostly pre 2023, right?
I believe that all of these are pre-2023. But some have been updated to 2023.
Because I think with mods, I try and get them to 2023, but a lot of the time it's hard to tell when mods have come out, or it's whenever you've played them. So for
Yeah, and
me,
sometimes they're like re-releases as well.
my pre ones that I played this year, I played the Ship of Harkanian Ocarina of Time build, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
the Ocarina of Time has been decompiled. It has a native PC port, and the Ship of Harkanian is a really cool version. It has native joystick camera controls, interlaced 120 FPS. I don't know if you know this, but Ocarina of Time natively runs at 20 FPS.
Oh, it was
Um,
a 20. I did. That's so
20
low.
it's Ocarina of Time
Oh
is one of
my.
the highest rated games of all time, and it runs at 20 frames per second.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, running that with
Jesus.
interlaced FPS, it looks and feels so much better with the interlaced
Yeah, I could
FPS.
imagine. Yeah.
And the Mario 64 port, it is specific Super Mario 64 Plus. Here it is, right here. I've been playing a little bit of
Okay.
that. I also played
That's
Mario
great.
64 on the Switch emulator as well. I tested that out as well, and that was pretty fun. I'm gonna sit
Okay.
down and do a full Super Mario 64 playthrough. I think maybe this year. I've never played Super Mario 64, and one of my most watched things on Twitch is Super Mario 64 speedruns. So I finally want to sit down and play Super Mario 64 because it's a really cool
Oh,
game.
speedrun it.
I don't. I
Yeah,
tried to do
new
some.
world record.
I tried to do some speedrunning tactics by just like from watching them, and I was like, "How the fuck do you even input half of these commands? Like, I don't even know
Oh,
how you
jeez.
make the character jump like that." Um,
That's kind of
but
insane.
yeah,
Okay. High
uh,
skill ceiling, I suppose.
let's go. I'll go through my honorable mentions, and then I'll go for my best mod of
Okay.
2023. So let's start with Half-Life 2 Mirrored. I have not played this, but I watched. I watched the video. So I'll send you this video, Tony, and you'll probably
Mirrored.
watch this and you'll be like, "Oh, this looks fine." As someone who has like a very has played Half-Life 2 probably over 10 to 20 times, this makes my brain hurt watching the exact same
Well,
game but mirrored. It is so
yeah.
like fucking with my mind sort of thing. Um so
The
my
start
honorable
I know, so that's different, but the rest I don't recognize.
Yeah, everything's wrong. It's so uncanny valley is this mod, and it's fucking. I think it's hilarious how much it's fucking with me. And I think it's one of those
Whatever do
mods
they?
where
Oh,
without like a a deep understanding of Half-Life 2, or if you've played it a couple of times, you're not going to be able to immediately recognize what you're not going to be able to recognize that it's wrong or why it's so wrong. But I think for big
yeah.
Half-Life 2 fans like me, you're immediately going to watch this and you'd be like, what the fuck is going on? So my other honorable mentions, Lego Half-Life 2, which was actually
Oh,
DMCA'd by the Lepin company. So unfortunately, they could no longer... but I did actually play some of it and I thought it was really fun.
rest in peace.
Thief the Black Parade, I think it won ModDB's mod of the year. It's a mod for the original Thief game, and it's basically brand new levels in the style of the original Thief. It looks really cool. Haven't played it. It's very highly reviewed. Lethal Company Bigger Lobby have played this. Basically, essentially what it does is Lethal Company is a 4-player game, but it allows you to have lobbies as big as you want them, and I think that's so valuable for a game that just came out to immediately have mod support and be like, hey, we have actually ran into times where we've had to use this mod because we had more than 4 people wanting to play the game, so it's been very invaluable. Voxel Doom 2 came out. Voxel Doom's a really interesting product. I actually used Voxel Doom this year when I was playing the Dr. Beef port of Doom to the MetaQuest. The native MetaQuest version, because I was playing it and I was like, okay, this will load up in VR, and then you're holding your gun models a 2D sprite, and then you can download like 3D models, and you got like a realistic gun, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. But then you have like these great voxel versions of the guns that you can hold in VR from the Voxel Doom project, and I was like, oh, this like feels really good. You've got like that kind of chunky pixel look from like the System Shock remaster or whatever. I think it looks really good.
Yeah.
I wrote down Manic Miners. I think I wrote this down at the start of the year before I played it. I think it is honorable to be remastering an old game like Rock Raiders that I played when I was a kid and I loved, but I think maybe I either have just grown out of it or I wasn't 100% sure how to get back into playing that game, I guess, is my takeaway from...
It was very confusing.
Yeah.
I don't know what was wrong with it.
But let's move on to my mods of 2023. I'm fairly sure all of these came out in 2023.
Okay.
Tony, I'm going to go ahead and say I guarantee all of these came out in 2023.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to check if that helps.
Okay. The first one is Open Goal Jax 2. Jax 2 has entered beta for Open Goal. If you don't know, Jax 1 has been completely decompiled, and I played it on my Steam Deck. I played a native PC port of Jax 1 on my Steam Deck, and Jax 2 has gone into open beta. So they feel like it is at a point where Jax 2 is far enough along that it can be played in an open beta state, and I wanted to spotlight that. Open Goal, Ship of Harkanian, Mario 64 Plus, tons of others ones. I love these like native PC port decompiling projects because they allow you to just do much more advanced stuff with the software in order to get it running on just tons of stuff like a Steam. There's a Decky plugin for the Steam Deck called Open Goal that its entire point of the extension is to allow you to easily compile and play Jax on your Steam Deck, which I think is really cool. Yeah.
Well, at some point I do need to play these games again.
Yep.
Uh,
And the
man,
Jax One
what
is
do you
fully functioning and good. I've played it on my Steam
yeah.
Deck. It's good. I even installed
What?
I even installed a HD mod for it, so it updated the textures
Oh,
as
nice.
well.
Yeah. When you
And
play the second one, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, this is completely different."
yeah, I think so. Well, I've only ever played Jax One, so
Yeah,
Jak and Dax is not a series I have a lot of time into. So
it's so weird because like it's Jack and Daxter, and then it switches to like Jack 2, Jack 3, then Jack X, and it's like okay, it's
but
very weird
I
naming. But
think
yeah, again, that's indicative of the pivot that Sony forced them to make.
and then next up, I have Half-Life 2 VR Episode 1 and Episode 2. Again, very, very well made mods. Came out the start of 2023, 17th of March. And then, when did Episode 2 come out? Episode 2 came out on the 6th of April. Really, really cool mod. Based on my experience of the Half-Life 2 one they made, which came out the previous year, but I played it this year. Really good. Faithful Half-Life 2 VR versions with full motion controls, really, really fun to play, and awesome that they all have workshop support because it allows me to go, hey, I can then go and download AI upscaled textures, right? And it just makes the experience even better in VR because when I'm playing Half-Life 2 on my computer, I'm not really noticing how like low resolution the textures are. But when you go and you look at it through VR, you really start to notice that stuff. So having the Junez weapon pack, bringing over a lot of the Half-Life Alyx models into Half-Life 2 is really good. AI upscaled textures are really, really nice to have. You can really see the difference between them. But yeah, highly recommend if you want to play through Half-Life 2 and you're like, oh, I've played through it a billion times like me, play through it in VR. If you're lucky enough to have a VR headset, it's really, really cool. Then next up, Tony, we have Portal Prelude RTX. Not only is it an RTX mod, it's also a Portal mod, and it's one of the original first Portal mods. This came out this year, and it even went as far as to add voice acting to the mod. Like the original mod did not have voice acting. I think, again, Portal RTX looks gorgeous, and even this mod adds even more stuff that wasn't in the original Portal RTX that looks amazing. I think the mod itself had some points where it was very physics-based, like in terms of inertia-based, and I think that stuff can be quite hard when you're not getting
the puzzle,
the highest FPS with without frame generation, which is also going to move slow down your input latency slightly as well. But I will say I did complete this, and I think some of the puzzles were really good. I do think this turned around towards the end, and I think this is a really cool mod. Ray Traced Half-Life came out this year, Tony. The original Half-Life got a full ray tracing mod. I believe it was the same guy who did Doom RTX and Quake RTX. Yeah. And I did load this up and play a bit of it, and I think it looks really fucking good. And of course, it also had like that toggle mode, Tony, so you could actually toggle the RTX on and off, sort of like the Master Chief Collection. Which I think is really, really cool. And then my final nomination is a game that I cannot talk about. MyHouse.wad is, if I had to pick my favorite mod of the year, MyHouse.wad is a fucking experience. I think this is something that I would recommend any fans of Doom or just games in general. Just go in and download myhouse.wad, drop it into GZ Doom, and just go into this completely as blind as possible because it is one of my favorite experiences of the year, and it's like a mod for Doom. It is so good. I think we've definitely talked about this at some point, but I don't know how much in depth I went into this. I don't know.
We have a slight spoiler thing, I believe, but I don't think we ever.
Yeah, it's so interesting
fully
because
spoiled it. but I think even going completely blind,
Going
I'd
into
recommend.
this, it's a post on Doom World, and somebody is like, "Hey, my childhood friend, I lost them. I was visiting their whole town for the funeral. I connected with their parents who shared some of their old belonging. Among them was a copy of an old map he had backed up on his floppy disk. So I decided to upload the WOD, which is just the house as a WOD map. And yeah, that's where the trouble starts with myhouse.wad. Yeah, great. The deeper you go into this WOD, the more you'll get out of it, I would say. It is so good.
Right.
It is just, yeah. And even if you don't want to, play it fully or any, just watch there's 500 YouTube essays about this WOD, which should tell you everything you need to know about this WOD. Um, but yeah, myhouse.wad has to be my favorite mod of the year. It is so so good. And Tony, if you had to pick one of your mods for mod of the year, which one did you think you would pick?
It
Do you
has to
have
be.
one? You don't have
Yeah,
to pick one if you don't want to.
no, no, I do have one. It's a toss between like Ordinator and On Guard. But I have to
On
give it to On
guard.
Guard because it completely makes the game feel more Souls-like, or more.
Shout
What do
out
you call
to
it? Like
On Guard's Nexus page for these awesome
yeah,
screenshots for me to show.
the screenshots are terrible. But the videos that people have done on it are better. But yeah, one of those like fixing combat. It generally like makes it feel like more. Well, I try to remember the word. It's like just more harder, but like more. If you
The way
fuck up, you
PC
get hit.
Games End described it was Mordhau meets Skyrim, is how they described it. Don't know if you agree with that.
I don't think so because
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe actually, I don't know. Maybe I guess Mordhau's more different than I don't think I've played a Mordhau like game.
I've played Mordhau and Chivalry 2. They're both great games.
The problem is that I didn't go into it as a melee class. Maybe it does feel like that if you go like pure like sword and shield. I don't know. But it definitely differentiates weapons
Well,
far better,
I'll
which makes
describe
it more
in
punishing.
Mordhau or Shiv. It's every like melee weapon is very like physics driven. It is like you have stuff called drag
Right,
where you will start swinging a sword and you can change it like midway, or how you move your body while you're swinging your sword is really important, and feinting attacks
right.
and blocking attacks
See,
and kicking and this stuff is really important. I don't know,
may,
is On Guard like that in melee, or you're
uh,
not sure because you've
that
just played
I
the
don't
mage
know.
stuff?
That might be really important, but the stuff that I saw was like I would very much like describe to like resource management and like reasons that you can't do like more like a Souls
It's
like
not like,
game.
because in
It's like,
games like
oh
Mordhau and Chivalry, you don't just like left click and you swing a sword. I assume that's how it works
no
in
no
base Skyrim, right?
yeah,
In
well that's still kind of how it works.
Mod Shiv, it's like you have a
Yeah,
jab, you have an overhead swing, you have a
yeah.
swing, you have like a
There's none of
sweep,
that.
you have
There's none of
you
that.
can throw
But
anything.
okay, there's not. It's not as in depth as that, but there's like a light version of that. Like depending on which direction you're moving, depends on the swing type you use. I guess that's sort of similar.
Yeah.
But that's about it. The rest of it, I would argue, is much more Souls like in terms of like just like being more complete. Like, at least what I appreciate in terms of like resource management. I can't use this because I haven't put stats into this resource. I can still pick it up. Like I can physically pick it up and swing it, but like it doesn't. It's not optimized for me. And then I have to then worry about the enemy. So I don't know. I'm saying Souls like more than Mortal. There's some stuff in it maybe, but
Okay.
it's way better. Either way, it's way better.
So, should we go on to best multiplayer games 2023? You had a
Yes.
couple that came out pre 2023.
Yeah, I just have games that I played early 2023, but yeah, they definitely did not come out that year.
Do you want to talk about your favorite multiplayer experiences from 2023?
Yeah, I was only gonna do one of them, but two of them actually. Oh no, no, I'll just do one of them because I want to leave that one.
Right.
Um, but Vermintide 2, it's like the first time I played it. We were gonna
Great
play it
game.
like in December. We were
Based.
gonna play in December of 2022, but then we pushed it back to like the new year because people were busy. It's just three of us playing, but man, I'm not normally like a melee class. Like I was expecting to like want to play the magic, like the fire magic class. But I really enjoyed like the main guy that they start you with. I was like having like the impact and the feel of the combat was really, really good, and like the
Uh,
look of the enemies. I'm
who's
also
the
not a
Inquisitor,
massive fan of
maybe?
Age of Sigma. Hmm?
Yeah, I think
Who?
I prefer the Space Marine stuff. Is it called the Inquisitor? Is he an Inquisitor or something? Is that what he is? He hates
Is it?
like witches and wizardry and stuff like that.
Yeah,
They all have
he's
names.
yeah. I can't remember the name. It's the guy that has like a military background. He has like a pike, and he can like block. It's like a. It's not. He can have a sword and shield, but
And
like
he's n-
I
and he's
really
not a
like the
dwarf.
pike. Not a dwarf. He's not an elf.
So there's
He's not
the
a
witch
witch.
hunter, bright wizard,
Not a
dwarf
witch
ranger,
hunter.
the way witcher, and the empire soldier.
I think it's Empire Soldier, I
Because for me,
believe.
I think I really liked playing as Victor, the witch hunter. I think that was a really
Oh, that's the
um,
crossbow guy, right?
yeah. I think I was mostly using like swords, like rapiers
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah,
like
he
that,
has a rapier and a
and
crossbow.
pistols
I
as
will
well.
say I as much as like I haven't played Left 4 Dead, but like I like watching Left 4 Dead, like the interactions of the character stuff. I really like the interaction with the characters in Vermintide too. Like it's really cool to have
Yeah,
like
I love that
bickering
Victor
between
hates
your
it.
character and someone
He
else.
just hates everyone that uses magic. He's like, you
Yeah.
fucking filthy
And then
magic user.
like the elf is like, "Oh, you're already fucking young." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, you're stuck with us though. Oh yeah, she calls everyone like mayflies. It's
I think
like,
people
okay.
when Darktide came out, people were complaining that they were more just like faceless characters. There wasn't really any banter between
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Because Darktide came out what at the end of 2022, or did it come out in 2023?
I want to say it's like October 22, and then like the update came out in
No,
23.
30th of November 2022. So it came out like right at the end of
November is it? Okay.
2022. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like it's improved, but I still think there's some bad monetary stuff. So I don't know. One day look
But
into it. But
yeah, I
yeah,
saw Darktide because I was
I'm more of a
really
40k guy.
I'm more of a 40k person when it comes to what I've
Yeah.
seen so far. Um, I'm not
So
massively a
I was really
Warhammer guy,
surprised.
but this,
Yeah,
I'm
I,
interested in some of the games.
there are very little factions I care about in like Age of Sigma stuff, but like the fact that Vermintide 2 actually like made me like interested in like at least the because Vermintide 2 has like Nurgle stuff and this Skaven, you
Skaven?
pronounce it?
I
The
think it's
rat people,
Skaven.
the rat
I
people.
think it's Skaven.
Skaven. Skaven, okay. Yeah, that's I think that's super interesting. There's a
Well,
there's,
because I
we
played
joked that
the I don't know
there's a
if you
guy
ever
with a Gatling gun, but he's like, oh yeah, he's the Necron. He's got a fucking green Gatling gun.
I don't know if you ever played the first game, but the first game was very much
No,
just rats. It was very much heavy
yeah,
Skaven. And there's even a
yeah.
DLC you can get for Vermintide 2 that will let you play the original Vermintide maps
Oh, is it?
inside Vermintide 2. Yeah, I think it's
Oh,
called
okay.
Back to
I am
Uber Shriek. I think it's
Uber Trek or
Uber Shrek. Yeah.
Uber Shrek, Uber Trek. I can't
Um,
remember. Yeah,
But
the main save that fell.
I played Vermintide 1 and I really bounced off it. And then I played Vermintide
Yeah,
2 and I absolutely adored it. So
yeah.
um,
I think I would
there
like
is
to
something
play Valentine 2
special
more.
about Vermintide 2.
Yeah. I also like I appreciate like so the maps like they're like they're like there's like the same mission but like it like slightly changes the path. I actually quite appreciate that. Now I've played like one of the maps like a couple of times now. It's like kind of interesting that they change it like that. It's like it's not like too different, but it's like just enough like, oh okay, that's what we're doing now. I think that's quite a cool mechanic. But yeah, it oozes like a lot of like really heavy yeah, it's like the dark theme, dark fantasy theme, and like just like uses like really like impactful hits, and the banter is really good. I don't care about Age of Sigmar, and it just felt really good. So I think that's my only. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's my only multiplayer game I want to talk about because like you can't really play it outside of multiplayer. So like to me, I just consider this a multiplayer game.
Yeah, you can play with bots, but yeah, I think it wouldn't be
It's
as
not
good
the
of
same.
experience.
No,
So
no.
my games that I got here are all from 2023, I think. So I'll just go through my honorable mentions, which we both played. The Jackbox Party Pack 10. Um,
Yes.
I think I really
One of the
enjoyed
better ones.
Dodo Re Mi, and
Yeah,
TKO2 was some of my favorite game modes from that.
yeah.
F099 was a nice game mode to play on Switch Online. You played a little bit of it when you were around here as well,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. It was
I
interesting.
think it was fun to have that F Zero racing in a battle royale game mode. I thought that was pretty
Yeah, that was
interesting.
very weird. Yeah.
BattleBit Remastered was from what I played of the free weekend where I played it, which I would say it's a game I wanted to like more than I liked. I think it was pretty cool, but I think I just made me want to play Battlefield more than it made me want to play more BattleBit. I would say.
Whereas a lot of people were saying like, "Thank God we got another Battlefield that's actually properly Battlefield." But yeah, you were like, "Nah, I'd rather play Battlefield."
But I think there was two games that really stood out for me on multiplayer for this year of 2023, and for me, my favorite games of 2023 would have to be the finals and Lethal Company. I
Mm.
think these were two of the best multiplayer games that came out this year. And I think that's
Yeah.
pretty consistent with what other people have been saying for this year. I don't think there's too many other heavy hitters that I missed for multiplayer this year. Um, 2023 was a
Um.
weird year because it had some of the best
Yeah.
games ever and some of the worst ports ever,
Yeah.
some of the worst games
Yeah.
ever.
There's not very many of them in the middle, other than
I'm
StarCraft, in my
sure we'll
opinion, in
talk
terms of
about
games.
the
But
best meme game in the meme awards, but I think we're just going to try
yeah,
and appreciate the good games in this one.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
100%.
but yeah, so I would say if I was going to try and give them their own awards, I would say my favorite competitive multiplayer game of the year was the finals, and my
Yeah, they
favorite
look really
co-op
good.
multiplayer game was Lethal Company. I think.
Yeah, I do separate that in my categories. I have like
mm,
co-op and multiplayer.
I think in terms of the finals, the finals was the game that reminded me of Battlefield the most in terms of like its actual objective based gameplay, and in
Mm.
terms of it was ex Battlefield devs, and the whole idea was you had this really cool mechanic of the entire map being destructible. Battlefield is known for its destructible buildings, but the idea of creating like high fidelity map that has full destruction like server side, so everyone's destruction goes off in real time, is nuts. And you can add like real time like ray traced lighting on top of that. I was like, that's crazy. um but yeah, I think this playing this game just made me go back and have so much fun playing competitive multiplayer games again. I think last year for me it was Overwatch 2's update,
Mm.
playing that again. But yeah,
From 6 to 5 people.
I just loaded this game up with so many of my friends who I hadn't played competitive games with in a long time, and just had genuinely a lot of fun playing it. And I think it
Yeah.
is a
I,
really cool game that is out now that you can play free
I
to
would
play.
I would say as a spectator, it's also really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like some games like are just like really bad to watch, but really fun to play. At least not I'm not playing them. I'm a spectator of these things. But yeah, it's actually like a lot of energy, and like the objective stuff makes it really interesting for me as a spectator.
And then of course Lethal Company. Yeah, this one was really just came out of nowhere. I think it is just one of
Yeah,
those big multiplayer indie hits where it's like that lightning in a storm kind of energy, lightning in a bottle kind of energy, where it's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
a spaceship salvaging team where you have to go into factories with your friends and go in and salvage scrap while terrible horrors kill
It
you, and you just have to keep.
it's
It has this very like anti-capitalist, like very
yeah.
much you
The
have to meet profit quota by going and almost killing yourself every day in order to
the
get
real
it.
monsters are the employers you met along the way.
Yeah, it's the Lethal Company of the real monsters.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think it came out. It was like, yo, we're in early access, I think it is, but it was like, we don't have all the content, but I think the game's like £8. It was like super cheap, and the
Yeah.
amount of content I've already got out of it, like through just playing the game, and then also I've been dabbling with more players through mods, and I've even installed a couple of mods. There's this one I tried out the other day called Skinwalkers, where it basically makes it so it records your voices and then it replays them
Oh,
randomly. So
yes.
it sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's
so
cool.
you'll hear one of your friends call out to you, like, "What's that?" And then you realize it's not actually them; it's somebody else. And it's
Yeah,
like, okay.
that's
And there's even like
I like that.
we've installed a mimic mod that will like it makes it so monsters will pretend to be like um, fire exits or like
Oh,
item,
that's
like a
cool.
mimic chest in like Dark
Yeah,
Souls.
yeah,
It is that sort of
yeah.
thing, which I was
I
like,
like that. That's really
that's really
cool.
cool. Because I was like, the game needs more stuff like I wanted more stuff where you walked into a room and then suddenly the door behind you disappeared, or the game just. I like stuff where the
Yeah,
game fucks with you more,
yeah,
so I was like, you know
yeah.
what, let's install more stuff about that. Um,
That's really cool that it has that support. Oh, that community around it already.
but
That's
yeah,
really
I
cool.
just it's one of those great games where you go and you don't talk on Discord, you talking inside the game with walkie talkies, and it's hilarious. Like watching your friend get murdered while they're trying to carry scrap across a room full of turrets, or there's these weeping angel monsters, and you have to keep staring at them to make sure they don't come towards
Yeah.
you, or it's just a
Combining
great.
all the horror tropes mechanically is such a cool idea.
It's almost like comedy horror, but I think comedy and horror are already so close together
Yeah,
in a lot
yeah.
of ways. But yeah.
I think the way that you react to it is comedy, but it's just horror that causes it. Yeah,
Mm. But yeah, those are my favorite multiplayer games of 2023. And I
some
think
good ones.
that leads us on to the big award of the year, which is the best game. Should we start with Should I do released in 2023 and then we can finish on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best
yeah. We'll
games we
finish
played in
with games we played.
2023?
Yeah.
So let's move on to honorable mentions. So let me start with Metroid Prime Remastered. Again, a game that came out in 2002 but remastered in 2023. This game looks gorgeous. I think
Yep.
games like Super
Good.
Mario Wonder and Metroid Prime Remastered make me go, holy shit, how are they making games that look so good on the Switch considering how outdated the hardware is? Like Nintendo just has some
Yeah.
secret sauce when it comes to making beautiful games on the Switch. And yeah, Metroid
I
Prime
think choosing the
Remastered.
right aesthetic and
Um,
right style is important. But yeah, it's great that they've done it.
I wish Metroid Prime had clicked with me more than it did. I think
Yeah,
it's a great
because
Metroid game, but it is so very different from the more 2D Metroid games. And
yeah,
I think I
so
much
many other
prefer
people
them.
like, oh, fantastic, and yeah, I think we both, me
Well,
watching you play,
I played the
mm,
entire thing. I really enjoyed my time with the game, but I think
yeah,
I played through playing Nintendo games this year. I played my first. I'm a big Metroidvania fan, and so I played my first Metroid game, and I played Metroid Dread. I'm showing the visor light appearing on the screen, which is like a little flourish effect that they added to
yeah,
the Switch, which is
really,
insane. Um, but I played my first Metroid game, and I think I much preferred the 2D version of Metroid through Metroid Dread than I did like the Metroid Prime, like the 3D aiming and movement, especially if you're doing it with a controller. I don't think I would prefer to, I like platforming around on a controller, but I think like any aiming on a controller I'm not very happy with, generally.
yeah, yeah,
And even like taking this onto an emulator and using mouse and keyboard controls to play the game, I wasn't like super happy with the experience overall. So I think obviously, when you look at stuff like this, there's some nostalgia goggle stuff when people have played this on like the GameCube and the Wii and stuff. Um,
yeah. But I've seen people say like they've played it again and go, oh, it still holds up. So like, I
yeah,
don't know, maybe
which I
maybe
don't
there's
want
something
to.
different
I don't want
now.
to invalidate anyone's experience
No, no,
because
absolutely
I
not.
still think this is a gorgeous looking game, and I genuinely did have a
Yeah,
lot of fun with it. I just think I
yeah,
prefer the other style of Metroid games. And do you know what,
yeah.
Tony? When they release Metroid Prime 2 Remastered, I'm going to play it. I'm still
Oh
interested
yeah,
in playing
that makes
more of
sense.
these. So,
Maybe it gets better.
next honorable mention is Diablo 4. I really enjoyed the playing through the campaign of Diablo 4. I think it
Yeah,
was just a letdown for
not
the
the end.
hardcore players with
Yeah,
the end game was sort of missing content, but I still stand by the fact that I said if you sat down and you played through Diablo 4's campaign and the combat and stuff, like it's like a 4 out of 5 game just for casual people who just want to play the campaign. I still
Yeah.
think it's a good game,
Yeah.
and I'll stand by that. Although if you are a Twitch chatter, D4 bad. Next up, we have Save Room the Merchant. Honorable mention, came out this year.
Oh yeah, really good.
I love that Resident
With
Evil
the mod.
4 attaché case, especially with the mod that replaces the merchant's voice
That's
with
so good.
the one from the original Resident Evil 4. Hilarious. It's a required mod in my opinion. I should have put on my best mods of the year. Is the Resident Evil 4 merchant voice?
Damn.
Yeah. It's a required mod for that game. But I love that they took the formula of the first game, which was this great puzzle game attaché case sorting sim, and then they added another layer onto it where you actually had to min-max the selling of items as well on top of it, which then led to another puzzle at the end of the level, which I was like, that's a great system. And if it's a puzzle game, I'm giving praise to it. It must be a good puzzle game because I'm fucking awful at most puzzle games. So it must be at least intuitive enough that I could play it.
I think we appreciate. I mean, we
there was something about it where I was like, it was so intuitive to me because it's something I've done so much in Resident Evil and other video games. Is that idea of trying to fit as much as you can into your inventory and also like min-max as much money as you can from shops, like gamifying the non-game elements and then turning the gamified non-game elements into its own game is such an fun and novel idea, and it just works really well in this game.
And that's how you know it's such a good mechanic you should add to your game, because you can make a game out of that Sons
of the Forest came out into early access this year. I was going to wait for the full release since I played The Forest at its full release and really enjoyed that game. My friend was super excited to try it, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to get you this game for your birthday. I'm going to play it on release. And I completed the game. I enjoyed my time with it, but I feel like it definitely needed a bit more time in the oven. I think I would have preferred the full release, where there were several times throughout the story I was like, who is this character? Why are we here? This feels very rushed. And then I was, like, there's so much base building stuff in the first game, and I was like, the base building's different, and you can't really build that much in the second game. And I feel like Sons of the Forest is a game where I'm going to have to go back and play it again for the 1.0 release, and I think it might be a much better game then. So maybe my game of early access, coming out of early access in 2024, as it's coming out of early access in 2024. Let's talk about games that came out of early access in 2023, Tony. The first one up I have is H-Rot. One of my favorite boomer shooters I played this year. Great game. It's hard to explain what's great about the aesthetics if you don't get like the Quake style. It's that very like grungy brown chunky pixels. Yeah. And then it mixes it with this great like Soviet stuff as well.
Nuclear.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the brown works with Soviet nuclear very well.
And the thing I loved about H-Rot was not only was it just like a competent shooter, but it was genuinely so surprising when I walked into a room and I was like, oh, there's a gorilla statue in here. And then I shot it and it's like, oh, the gorilla statue is now a boss. And I'm now fighting this giant. And it's just like, what possible shit are they going to throw at me next? That was constantly my experience in H-Rot.
Oh, horse with a gas mask, isn't it?
Horse with a gas mask was terrifying, yeah. That's just like a normal enemy in the game. It's like a horse. Yeah, that's one thing. I think it has some of the best from playing like a medieval and Dusk this year. I was like, I think for me, H-Rot had some of the most interesting enemy designs of any of the boomer shooters I played in 2023. It was always just all over the place, and they were always very interesting to fight. So yeah, great to see.
Is it just the fact that it's like an animal with a mask on? Is that just creepy? Is that
yeah?
Is that the problem?
There was oh, I don't know if I can go into this. I'll save it for the tangerine.
Okay.
Next up we have
write a note.
A game I've wanted to talk to you about, but I have been able to talk to you about because I played it recently. Spin Rhythm XD came out of early access this year, and I think this game came out in 2021 into early access. this is, I keep saying I don't know if I like rhythm games, and then I play a bunch of rhythm games, and I love this rhythm game. I played
Well,
Trombone Champ. I played Sekiro: The Secret Rhythm Game. You know, but
rhythm into other
the
genres.
mechanic of this one, Tony, is you have this giant wheel,
Yeah.
and these small notes you hit them by just putting the appropriate color over them. The bigger, longer notes you have to click down to
Oh,
get them, and then when you
that's
see these
cool.
spins, you have to spin in the direction. So you're constantly
Yeah.
like spinning this wheel around. And if I was going to give an award to this game, it's the game that most makes me want to buy a racing wheel award. I've seen videos on YouTube's of people playing this with like one of those like racing
That
wheel things, and it
yeah,
looks
that'd
so
be really
genuinely fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I played tons of this on my PC. It has custom song support, so I put tons of custom songs on it as well. Like I've played "Objects I've Shoved Up My Ass" on this, the song version, or like what was another one? I immediately went and installed the Neon White soundtrack, and I was like, oh, the Neon White soundtrack is only made for XD difficulty, which if you don't know in this game, XD difficulty is the hardest difficulty in the game. And I was like, this is not possible for a human. I did Dragon Force Through the Fire and Flames, Tony, the classic.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the bass songs on this game are just like Monster Cat sort of songs. So if you like that sort of like EDM Monster Cat songs,
Yeah.
you'll like
Yeah.
this. There's not like rock like you would have in a game like Rock Band or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's more
But
of a
again,
it works.
there's a website called SpinShare, and basically people can upload their own custom maps, and the game has an inbuilt custom map editor. And I got that set up on my PC, and I had it set on my Steam Deck as well. So Tony, I played this on my PC with a mouse and keyboard, and I really enjoyed it. And then I also played this on my Steam Deck, and I almost was like, man, you know when they invented that analog like keyboard, and I was like,
Oh, the booting thing.
yeah, but playing this on my Steam Deck with like the trackpads and stuff, it's like
Yeah.
whenever you would spin the wheel, you would get this haptic feedback on it, and it was like it felt so
Oh,
good to spin the wheel.
nice.
And I was like, that is something you're just missing out on the PC version of games.
Does
Is
does it not
the-
work with the PS Sense controller?
well, on my PC I was playing with mouse and keyboard, but what I'm saying specifically is like
Okay, right,
when you
sorry.
play with mouse and keyboard, you're missing like that vibration, that haptic
Yeah.
feedback that feels so good when you play these sort. Because this game has full controller support, so you can just play this with
Especially
a controller.
modern. I know this is where like if you've only ever like if you've been PC mouse computer and never like gone back to like vibration
But
stuff,
Tony,
like, modern haptic feedback is
I
so
got this set up on my
fantastic.
Steam Deck, and then I installed custom songs on my Steam Deck, and this game has 4-player local co-op, and I have it set
Oh.
up on my Steam Deck.
Ooh,
So I
Right,
can
I'm gonna
actually,
bring
I have my controllers. So
Can someone bring their steering wheel to the party?
oh well, yeah, that's one thing I wanted to try out, was trying this on a steering wheel. This game is generally so.
We know
and
someone. With a steering
I
wheel.
think this is playing on the normal difficulty, I believe this is, but the way it works is each difficulty has different mechanics. So
Right.
the easier difficulties is just like spinning and hitting notes, but then as you get further on, there's like I think it's on hard mode. There's a note where it's just you have to spin it backwards and forwards, like you're scratching like a record. It's really cool.
Okay,
Like it has support for like if you have like a virtual DJ record thing, it has support for that. Like it has support for like lots of like random actual music instrument devices you can play with this. Like you can spin an actual
That's really
physical
cool.
record with this game, which I was like, it's such a unique rhythm game. And I played it non-stop over Christmas. I was having so much fun playing this. I think this game
Yeah,
is
that's
genuinely
really
really cool. And yeah, it just came out of early access, and I think there's a guy I watch on YouTube called Fan the Deck, and constantly he would have this game in the background
Oh,
of
is
his
he
Steam Deck reviews, and I was like, man,
Yeah,
that game looks
yeah.
really fun, but I've never heard about this, and I was buying. There was another game I was interested in getting, and it was in a bundle, and this was one of the games I was like, you know what, I'm going to get this game and try it out, and I'm so glad I did, because it is really, really fun, and it's one of my favorite
It looks
games
great,
of
yeah.
2023 that came out.
And
of
the
early access.
visualization was great as well. I think we
Yeah.
haven't really talked about that.
Best visualizer of a And this is playing on like the lower difficulties. What I've learned is that I'm a normal to extra normal player. Like I can do some tracks on hard,
Extra normal.
but then when it gets more towards like the expert, and especially, I don't think
Yeah.
humans can play XD difficulty unless you're like a O2 player on like Ritalin or something, or Adderall or something, you know.
Right. Okay.
But I think it has that good blend of like, I don't know, something just clicked with this rhythm game. I just really enjoyed it. Like in the same way I really enjoyed how simplistic
Well,
Trombone Champ. I just
you're not
enjoyed how
really-
fun and the method of
Yeah.
clearing the notes was in this.
So you're not really thinking about which buttons to press. It's more like just lining something up. I think that's much more intuitive. I think that that's more fun. Yeah, that's cool. That's a really cool concept.
It was changing. Oh, you can everything's customizable, so you can change how the notes look. You can change how
Oh, that's
there's
cool.
like a high contrast mode. You can change
Wait,
all the
you can
colors.
change the lady.
You can. I think it was maybe a man at the beginning. I was like, I want a lady DJ. You know?
Of course.
But
of
as you
course.
play, you get XP and you unlock more cosmetics. And Tony, if you play custom tracks, you can still unlock cosmetics. You can play the way you want to
that's
play.
cool.
So playing on
Play
like
the way-
you have like these notes you hold down on the higher difficulties. That's another mechanic that changes. And then on the
Okay.
like,
That's
I think
interesting.
it's on hard difficulty. You get what's it called? You use the spacebar on your keyboard to do like a bass track, like a boom, 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 boom.
Right.
So like
Interesting.
going up
Okay.
difficulty is not just we're going to make the notes go faster. It's actually more mechanics to deal with.
Yeah, that's really cool. I appreciate that. Yeah. I have a lot of
And
thoughts
then-
going into this.
yeah.
Then.
It's a really cool game, and I'd highly recommend it to most people. It's really, really cool. And if you're a fan of Monster Cat music, you can play all the Monster Cat music you would like until you mod in some different music. But yeah, those are two of the best early access games. Then we have, okay, Tony, we have my section of games that came out in 2023, but really came out years later. So let's start with Quake 2 Remastered, one of my favorite games of the year. I think. Obviously, the Night Dive re-release, completely changed the game in a lot of ways in order to get it running on modern systems. And I think genuinely it is a really good way to play Quake 2. But I think this doesn't take the cake for me for my favorite game of 2023, given that I much preferred Quake 1. Like, I think I gave Quake 1 my game of 2022 or 2021, whenever that I did my review of that, because I was like, yeah, I just had so much fun playing this. But for me, with Quake 2 is such a great game, but it's so different in the way that it's like, it's not linear levels. It's more like open, and you go between multiple levels and like mission structures. And then it's not like a medieval like Eldritch thing. It's more of like a sci-fi thing, which I like, but it's also very different from the previous games. And there's more like an inventory system, and they even give you this compass system in order to help you get around the levels. And I just
Yeah.
I preferred the simplicity more of the first game,
Yeah.
and like the more of the aesthetics of the first game. But this is still like like a 4 out of 5 or a 4.5 out of 5 game sort of for me. It's still very good and very worth your time, worth playing. Yeah, there were other games that I enjoyed more. Next up, Tony, we have Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart. Oh, by the way, we've done tangerines of most of these, I think. So Quake 2 has a full dedicated video on it if you want to know more of my thoughts about it. Ratchet and Clank has an entire tangerine on it if you want to know my full thoughts. But Ratchet and Clank is a game that came out in 2021, but I've only been able to play it now because it came out on Steam in 2023.
I think that's fine because you'd never talk about it. So I think it works.
But the port they released, like the full ray tracing they did for the PC port, this is one of the best looking games I've played this year. This game looks so fucking good, and there's a huge Ratchet and Clank game. I mean, I've been saying for years to you, Tony, I was like, if they release a Ratchet and Clank game on PC, I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna play it because this is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite series of all time, and I was not disappointed. This is a 5 out of 5 game for me, and I genuinely enjoyed this from start to finish. It is fantastic, and I cannot believe It looks so good on my PC and runs so well on my Steam Deck. It is so good, and I would recommend this to everyone. Really, really good game. Next one is one that we have not done a tangerine about, but is a game I played this year, that came out this year. Super Mario RPG, Tony. My first ever Square Enix game, I believe. My first ever Square Enix RPG, I think.
Yeah.
So this is a weird game. It came out for the Super NES back in the 90s, I want to say. And it is a collaboration between Nintendo and Square Enix, which makes it one of the weirdest Nintendo Mario games ever.
Yeah.
Let me see when it came out. Release date 1996. And I never played the one on the original. I never had a SNES. It came out a year after I was born. And growing up, I had like a Game Boy and a PlayStation. I never had like a NES or a GameCube or anything like that. Nintendo 64 or anything like that. But I got to say, Tony, I really like this game. Historically, I'm not really a big fan of turn-based JRPGs.
No.
But I think this game is really good. And you want to know one of the big things that I love about this game is they could have made this game really long and they chose not to.
I was gonna kind of like related to that. Like, I feel like as well that they kind of simplified or sped up the combat to like its core. Like I feel like if it was an actual Square Enix game, like the first fight would like take a couple of minutes. You'd be there going back and forth. But it's like no, you just like instantly defeat them. And it's like yeah, this is how this works.
I think one of the
It's
great
like,
things about this
simplified.
is I think combat is always so
Yes.
interesting in this game because it's not just like a binary press A to attack. It's
Yeah,
like
you were trying to figure
you
out
have
what to
these
do.
things called there's timed attacks and there's timed blocks. So every time you attack, you can if you get the rhythm down, you can get a perfect attack which deals more damage. And if you get the rhythm down on when the enemy's attack animation is, you can get like a block and you can deflect all the damage, which is really cool. So
an
again,
active
Tony,
thing in the turn base.
Spin Rhythm is a rhythm game. Super Mario RPG is a rhythm game. Sekiro is a secret rhythm game. Been playing lots of rhythm. The final boss of Super Mario Wonder is almost like a rhythm game almost, where it's like Bowser's having a rock party, and you have to jump up into these blocks to hit them in order to hit Bowser, and you have to do them in time with the music. And there's tons of music throughout the entirety of Super Mario Wonder, and that's another rhythm. Like, I feel like for some reason, 2023 was a year of lots of rhythm games for me. For some reason, just unintentionally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're gonna have to do a full tangerine on Super Mario RPG at one point because I think I have a lot to say about it, but I think it's gonna consume too much time to talk about it all here. But one thing I'll say is I love the quality of life. You know, like how in like an RPG, right? You would have to go through an entire room of battles to get to the other side, and you'd have to do them on real time. In this game, you can get an invincibility star, you know, like in Mario, and in classic Mario games, you get an invincibility star. You run into an enemy and they die, and then that helps you get through like a bunch of enemies very quickly. In this game, if you get an invincibility star and you run into a bunch of enemies, and once your invincibility star runs out, you get the XP from killing all of those enemies as if you had battled them, and it really speeds the game up in a lot of like when you can do stuff like that. And I'm like, that is such a lovely quality of life change that this game has, where this game is like, it has a lot going on, but it never like feels weighted down by like how much time commitment you have to put into it. I think I wrote down how much time I put on this game, so let me check. It took me 13 hours to beat this game, and if I said, hey, it took me 13 hours to complete a Screen X JRPG, you would be like, there's no way. There's no way you could actually go in and, like, Final Fantasy 16 came out this year, and I think people are reporting, like, 60 hours, 80 hours playing of that game. You know, they, like, Yakuza games are notoriously very, like, most JRPGs are very long games. And I think I got all the enjoyment out of playing a JRPG style game, but with so many great quality of life changes, and in this maybe like shortened package, I think Super Mario RPG is such a great game. And yeah, I would say for me, it's maybe closer to like a 4 out of 5 because the RPG stuff is great, but they try and do platforming in the game, but it's platforming from like
Yeah.
this weird perspective and it feels super janky. And there are so many times that I just got stuck trying to do this janky platforming that I have to kind of mark some points off of it for that. But yeah, I the soundtrack to this is phenomenal. If you don't know, the Mario CBT meme where somebody's reading out the Cock and Ball Torture Wikipedia page, that song is from Super Mario RPG. So somebody remade it with the new soundtrack from the Super Mario RPG remake.
Thank God.
I'm sure I'll talk about this again in the meme awards. But yeah, shout out to Super Mario RPG, a really, really cool game. And let's move on to my games of 2023 that actually, I don't want to say actually came out this year, but were an original game that released this year. Not that we need to make a distinction particularly. Super Mario Wonder, Tony. I think playing Super Mario Wonder, immediately after playing this, I was like, oh, I found my game of 2023. This game is so good. I think it just goes back to my favorite thing about Mario is just simple movement and playing those original Mario games on the Game Boy Color port. I think just moving around as Mario always just felt good in like a 2D space. And going recently these days, we've gone more towards that 3D space sort of thing. And
with an Odyssey and things.
Playing some of the 3D Mario 2D games, like the new Super Mario Bros. Playing that on I played that on the DS and I played it on the Wii, and it just always felt like a bit floaty. Like it felt like, you wouldn't stop on a dime and there was weight to your movement. Almost as in like, the best way I can describe it is if you've ever played GTA, and in GTA, when GTA always puts animations first, and it's like you start an animation to move somewhere, so your ragdoll goes forward, and then suddenly halfway through you go, no, actually, I want to turn to this direction, but the game's like, no, you've committed to going in this direction, so you have to fully go over here, and then you can. It's almost like a swinging mechanic. It's like Super Mario Wonder finally found that formula of like, hey, we're going to make a game that plays like a 2D Mario game inside 3D, and oh my god, does it feel good. And not only that, they also found one of the most interesting mechanics in a Mario game through the Wonder Seed system. The Wonder Seed system is great. Like, it could have just been, hey, let's make the worlds go upside down in every level, and it's like, no, every single Wonder Seed is completely unique in a way that will surprise you every time. And it's always like, hey, I wonder what the Wonder Seed's going to be like. It's a game that brings wonder back to you, It is a game that makes you want to explore. Tony, there's no timer. The game is all about exploring and looking around and trying to find collectibles. Again, one of the best looking games on the Switch. Holy shit. It looks so good. And it runs at a rock solid 60 FPS as well. Fucking amazing game. But yeah, I had so much fun. I love the new badge system where you can get around Mario, and you can have like the cap glider, you can have like the super jump, the enhanced like wall jumping, and there's legitimately multiple ways to use these different abilities, and they also help you solve puzzles around the world. Like, really, really cool. And even like the multiplayer stuff looks really cool, like the ability to put like standees down for people and like help people out in like multiplayer and stuff like that is really, really cool. It's a game I 100%ed. I say 100%ed because I got all the collectibles and I completed the final mission, and then it was like, here's the final mission where you have to do every single badge challenge in one run without dying. And I was like, yes, I have completed the game. I do not have to do this after I almost destroyed my controller playing it with 100 lives. And I was like, you know what? I've 100% of the game. Like, I did the Champions Road on Super Mario Odyssey, and I was like, damn, that was fucking hard. And I I've got my fun out of exploring and collecting everything. I'm done with this game now, and I had a lot of fun. And yeah, I'd recommend Super Mario Wonder to everyone. It is a fantastic game. Tony, do you
Yeah,
want to hear it?
and
So
definitely
Tony,
on acid as well.
I was thinking about my right at the end of the year. I'm like, okay, I found my game of the year, and you know what happens every year? I find another game, and I'm like, oh damn, maybe this is my game of the year,
You
and
found another one.
it's a game called Homebody, and it's a game I cannot talk about. It is such a good game that I do not want to spoil it for people because it is a game I think everyone should try that is interested in trying it. I think Homebody is a game that is not for everybody, but for the people that are interested in it, it is a game that you should at least try once. So I'll go over some basics about the game.
The vague premise.
The way it was described to me, because I had never heard about this game until I was listening to the No Clip podcast Games of the Year, and they said, "Oh, Homebody, it's made by Game Grumps." I was like, "What the fuck? Game Grumps made a game?" And I was like, "Okay." The premise of the game that it was explained to me is it's the Outer Wilds mixed with Signalis, which I immediately was like, okay, I will no longer listen to anything about this game and I will go and buy it and play it because that is very intriguing to me because the Outer Wilds is one of my favorite games of all time. I deeply love that game and I played Signalis and I was really interested by that game. I wasn't as in love with it as I was the Outer Wilds, but there's definitely a very interesting game. And the best way to describe Homebody without getting too into depth into it is something you'll discover within the first time playing it. I mean, this is light spoilers, I guess, but it is used in the marketing. It's a old school survival horror game set inside a time loop, but it's also sincerely about like mental health and mental issues. It is such a good game and it tackles big issues in like such a sincere way. You know, the game's called Homebody and the game is literally about a person being unable to leave a house, and I can immediately tell you can understand the symbolism behind that and all the other issues it goes into. Like, you know, in the start of the game, you're literally pulled over the side of the road because you have social anxiety about going up and meeting up your friends and going to see them. And it's very much about your relationship with people and how mental health affects it. And it's very much about stuff like OCD and depression and how we're affected by nostalgia. And I really want to talk more about this game, Tony, and I cannot, because the more I say about it, the less of a special experience I feel like it will be for most people.
Yeah. You need to experience it without knowing, for sure. It sounds really intriguing though. Like I think the store page, like I think you can know from that if you're gonna like it. I think.
Yeah, it is very much like a heavy puzzle game. It is fixed camera, so I was being very annoyed by this going around certain corners. You know, when you start walking in one direction and the fixed camera changes and you're suddenly walking in another direction. I don't know if that was intentional, but if it was intentional, that is kind of funny because that kind of could play into the game, I guess. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, man. It sucks when some of my favorite games of the years are like Outer Wilds, the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, you know, my house.wad, where I just really want to tell you about the game and I want to explain to you why the game is so good. But as soon as I do, it diminishes your playthrough of the game and I don't want to take that away from you. So
it's almost like you need to like, go and play the game, then come back and listen to the rest of the video.
Yeah.
That's how you need to really do it.
That's what I would do, but I said to Tony, "Hey, do you want me to spoil this for you?"
Yeah,
and he was like,
this time.
"No." I was like, "Okay,"
because I wasn't gonna play like a Doom thing. It's like, okay, you can just tell me. But this time, like, it's the only time I could play.
It has like because it's heavily puzzle based, right? And I got to a point where if you ever seen that scene in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlie and Mac get a job in the mailroom and they start like doing meth or smoking crack or something, and he's just like Pepe Sylvia, Pepe. This was me like halfway through the game when suddenly I figured something. I was like, wait, I've been trying to add 1 and 3, but that's impossible. Wait. What if I added 1 and 2 instead? And I was like, oh my God, my mind is blown. Finally, I've connected all of the dots. And it's like, generally, like, I would say, like, this is not a good stream game. Like, a lot of the time I'll be playing a game and I'll be streaming it to my friends on Discord. And I would say, generally, it's something you kind of need to commit time to, like a game like The Outer Wilds, where I think you just want to take some time and just sit on your computer by yourself and just play this game. And just there's no voice, there's no like voice acting, so it is all reading text. You have to. It's a game you need to focus on because you need to read text and you also need to solve puzzles. So you definitely need to. It's a game that requires you to commit to it, but if you do commit to it, you will get to that point where you're like, okay, damn, something snapped. I get this now. Like, I think the first couple of hours I wasn't really into it, but then suddenly I started to get into it. And I feel like that's almost a theme with time loop games, is it requires like a certain amount of time put into them until you're like, okay, finally I'm understanding more about the loop and finally I'm in. Like, I've experienced this with games like Homebody, The Outer Wilds, and even Deathloop. You remember I talked about Deathloop, and I was like, I feel like I played the game for 15 hours until finally something snapped, and then I was like, oh, now I'm really into this game. And I feel like that might be a side effect of designing a game around this mechanic, is that at the beginning it's harder to get into, but then once you really get into that repetitive pattern, that's when you're like, okay, now I'm in, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. When you understand how the loop is influencing things generally, you're gonna try and figure it out. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Tony, I think if I was going to give a Game of the Year award to a game, I think Homebody would be my Game of the Year. It is so good.
Okay. It was that impactful. Okay.
Yes, it was that impactful. Like, if I was going to do a cop-out, I would say Homebody is my PC Game of the Year and Super Mario Wonder is my Switch Game of the Year. Because genuinely, Super Mario Wonder is such a good game. And I literally was like, I'm going to give this my Game of the Year, right? But I played Homebody, like, I think I completed it maybe like Boxing Day or something like that. Like, I literally was playing it around Christmas and I was like, I was hooked. I was just like going off. I was like talking to my friends. I was like, guys, I gotta go off. I gotta sit down and play some more Homebody. Like, I was just like, I gotta know what's going on in this game. Like, I gotta keep going. I have to sit down and finish this game. And that's a really like special feeling for a game that is so like impactful and connects with you in many ways, even if you don't suffer from like any like of these issues yourself. It really helps you to understand the ways that people could see the world from their perspective, and it's really impactful that way. So I think it's a deeply impactful game that's connected with me on a lot of ways. And I think I literally had never heard about this game until a month ago, and I think there's a lot of people who have never heard about this game. And I think if one person goes away from this and is like, oh, I'm going to play this, and they really connect with it, that will be something really cool to see. So and if his name is Tones at RT, then that would be even better, you know?
It's not too pricey either, so
no. You can get it on sale quite often.
Go.
I got it on sale.
I'm gonna say
this is the game I got in a bundle. This is the game I got with Spin Rhythm XD. So
right. Well, I told you before we were recording, but I need to complete my bundle. What was it called? The Dream Daddy and Homebody bundle. I've already got one of them.
Yeah, so the other game Game Grumps made was Dream Daddy, and I was like, how the fuck do you go from the makers of Dream Daddy to Homebody? Because they're such different games, but you were like, they're almost similar in the way that they draw you in, and then they kind of shift. It's like there's a great game by Free Lives called, I think it's called Genital Jousting, and it is actually a game that draws you in and goes, hey, because it has a single player campaign, right? Here's a funny game about penises. And then it's like, actually, this is a game that's deeply about toxic masculinity. And it's like, it like switches it up on you in order to try and get people who would never play a game about that subject in order to try and educate them more on these different ideas, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But still
Um,
with the same funny mechanic, I suppose. Yeah, it's like just a good way of having a message of some kind. Yeah,
but I think the really funny thing about Genital Jousting is the best way to score points is not to just to penetrate people, but also to let yourself be penetrated. And I think that's a
yeah,
message. That's a beat we can all dance to. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
Makes sense.
Tony,
What a
you want to talk about
message.
our best game we played in 2023? Because I have
You okay?
five. I have one, two, three, four, 6 games that I want to
Yep.
talk about deeply, and then I've got about
I
5 honorable mentions.
I've
Um,
got two and one reason, and then a third was I didn't want to just mention like because you mentioned it before, so I might as well say like why it was not on here at all as like a disqualified entry.
can you
I'll
take
start.
over if I go to the toilet quickly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Send
will.
me a link to something to put up while I talk about it. While you talk about it, then.
Oh, I was just go to V Rising. Does that have V Rising?
V Rising, Tony's nomination for the what was
Yeah.
it? The Steam Award of Labor
I
of
did.
Love.
I did.
Right back.
Yeah. I voted for Labor of Love. I guess I could. I could say why I voted for Labor of Love again. There was an update that came out this year, like that rebalanced the. I guess the start of the game, but like there's some like core mechanics that have been changed, like move stuff around the map. If you don't know, there's like you get a lot of you have to defeat bosses. It's like an isometric game, vampire game, base building, survival, but you get a lot of the powers by defeating bosses. And they rebalance. You don't need an item anymore to do it. Like it's just in your inventory to go and actually find these bosses and defeating these bosses gives you I was gonna say skills, more abilities, I suppose. Um, but yeah, it's just I played it again. Played it again at the start of the year and played it again after when they did like they did the change. And before I played the game just in multiplayer, but this time I just I've still not got to the end game. Like I'm still like at the midpoint, but like getting to the interesting part of the game is now a lot quicker, despite some of the other stuff is like not more grindy, but like more structured and like but then there's like more incentives to like do certain things with like what you're doing in your building to like increase the speed of gathering resources. And it's still just like a really, really fun gameplay loop. And yeah, I didn't think they needed to overhaul the game, and it's surprising to me how much of a difference it made it feel. Because like I think if I was asked like, oh, do you want to like continue your map or your I don't know what you call it, like your level or start again, I wouldn't want to start over. But now it's like, oh, okay, like they've streamlined the intro to the point where it's like, it's fine to start again if you want to do it with some new friends or something. I know a lot of people play this as like a PvP and PvE sort of thing, but I'm entirely going into this as like a cooperative PvE experience. But yeah, it's a lot. I said this before when I brought this up before.
Stonelock Studios is very much known for their PvP stuff because of
Yeah,
Battlerite
yeah.
and
I
Bloodlines.
I was gonna yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't gonna mention this, but I was gonna say like I've looked at the other games before and go, oh man, I wish this was like a game I'd want to play because the mechanics look really cool. And they finally made like a PvE game. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I said this before. We've talked about V Rising before, and I said like it makes you feel like a vampire. 100% still does. The mechanics and like the
V
base build, like
Rising is
the
receiving
most vampire feeling
The
game.
Tony Award, the game that makes you feel
Yep.
like a vampire.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's weird because there's other like it's vampire RPGs, there's like vampire games, and it's like oh, you could be a vampire in Skyrim. It's like oh, you could be a vampire in another game, but like out of all of them, like these are the mechanics that really make you feel like a vampire. It's
Super
crazy.
Mario
But yeah, I
Wonder
really appreciate
wins
the
the
update.
award for the game that makes you feel like Mario.
No, it's the Mario Wonder is the games that most feel like you're on acid. Surely that's the award it gets.
Let me spoiler this for you, Tony. What do you think those mushrooms he's been doing all these years were?
What? I can't believe it.
Need I say more?
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. They weren't as magic. They're more magical now. They're more wonderful now. Let's
But
just say
yeah,
that.
V Rising, one of your favorite games you've played this year.
Yeah, still holds up, and the changes are really positive. It really good fun. I would highly recommend people to play it, especially in a cooperative experience. I'm not a PvP guy, but people like that. There's like worlds dedicated around like protecting your base and things. I don't know how good that is.
So,
Don't know.
did you have any others? Or was this the big one?
Oh, well, yeah, I had a second one. I was just gonna
Right.
Mechanicus. I played I only played this year. Oddly, only in 1 month I played it. Apparently, um, really good until the end. There's like one enemy they added.
What happened
Um,
at the end then?
there's one enemy
Right.
with a shield that completely breaks the combat. There's some really interesting stuff. The theme of it, like the like you kind of skip past the intro of like the voice thing. There's another trailer as well they have. It's like really like it gives you the feel of Mechanicus. Like a lot of other Warhammer games that really overlook the Mechanicus to make them feel not pathetic, but like they're nowhere near as cool as they are in this game. The concept being like you are like I don't know, like mechanical librarians. You've gone to an awakened or awakening Necron world. Like it's like the more you do, the more it awakens, and the more problems it causes. But you're trying to get the technology, so like you have to like be considerate of what you're doing. There's some weird mechanics in there. Like I would rather there's just like one big map, kind of like XCOM 2, where they have like a weird turn-based thing in between the mission or in between the battles in a mission. But it's fine. It's not offensive. It's just like meaningless to me. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, the actual what the mechanics I think is really cool is like you have like a little skull. You've seen it in if you played uh Space Marine, like like the little
Yeah.
skull that flies around. Like that's actually a part of like a mechanic. Like you can use it to deal damage if you spec into that. You can do it. You need to use it to like scan for enemies and see what their weaknesses are. Like, are they shielded or armored? It's like some really cool stuff you can do there, and it's like you can get some cheeky damage. And it's just really cool the way you like spec out your troops. It's like some kind of cool stuff you can do. I kind of wish there was more in-depth stuff you could do, like more like synergies, but like the stuff that is there is like both thematically and like mechanically really cool. And I'm a big fan of Necrons, and seeing Necrons like do some of the stuff is really cool. Until the Shield guys. There's some bullshit
Fuck the
mechanics
shield,
before, but
guys.
the Shield guys,
So the
they
game
can
is
okay,
it's sort of like a Mechanicus Warhammer XCOM sort of game. Is that how you
yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
describe it?
It's an XCOM styled Warhammer 40k game. It's yeah, it goes hard on the theme and like like there's not really voice acted, but like there's well actually I say that the main enemies of the Necron, like the bosses, are voice acted, but then like the rest are like have like weird sounds. You just have to read the text.
Okay.
But it's a really good. The sound design is really good. So I'm yet to defeat the final boss, but I would have done it if it wasn't for the shield guys. I just want to say the shield. Okay, I just want to say the problem with the shield guys is like if you hit them on your turn, they
Yeah.
will take a turn on your turn. You hit them
What?
again, they take another turn. It's really annoying. I hate it so much.
They're bullshit mechanics.
Yeah. Oh, and quickly, I just want to say, I really like the simulation. And this is a different game now. Of Sea Skylines 2 was disqualified because of performance,
Okay, here we go.
but I
Sea Skylines
really,
2.
but I really appreciate the simulation. I think it's like way better of a concept than Sea Skylines 1. There's some missed opportunities with some of the mechanics they've added, but it's still mechanics that are not in Sea Skylines 1, and I appreciate that. But the performance needs to be increased. It just needs to be optimized far more. Like it's not good enough the way it was released, but the idea of it, the simulation and the seasons is like really cool and is genuinely good. And the logistics side of it
Well,
being like more in
this
depth,
is one of
far
the
better.
only games that came out in 2023 that you've played,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is a shame because it was
Is
just
it the only game? Yeah, I think it's the only game I played. Um, Technically another game came out, but it was in early access or something. But I don't think that counts. So
okay. Can't
This
count
is the
them
only
all.
game in 2023 that came out that I played, but yeah, if it should have come in like this like in 2024,
Yeah.
with all the patches and
Have
things,
the
they should have just
updates they've
delayed
released
it.
so far been good, or how have they been?
They've been improving it, but I think they've fixed all the easy bugs. Now they've really performance issues. I think takes a while to fix. Like they've slowed down to once a month now, but they were doing it more than once a week, fixing the
It's
big
like
bugs. But again,
SimCity on steroids,
but
said
still, if
some
you've got that
advertising.
many bugs where you need to update that quickly, you should have just waited at least those couple of weeks. That just seems crazy to me.
I think not. I think one of the big problems was that they had to release it because of the state of video
Yeah,
game development right now.
absolutely.
It's something we haven't talked
Yeah,
about, but there was a lot of
absolutely.
layoffs this year,
Yeah,
downsizing, a lot of people
monetary
losing
issue
their
is
job.
definitely a thing.
But I think one of the big bummers was it released in an unoptimized state, but it's also
Yeah.
there's such a breadth of depth from the fact that the first game has so much custom content and also DLC
Oh yeah,
that it's also
yeah.
not going to be able to keep up with that feature creep in terms of releasing in a state like that. I don't
I
think so.
I think if DLCs is adding breadth to a game, I honestly think that the simulation depth that this adds is justifies its existence compared to all the DLCs of the first game. Personally,
Right. Okay.
if it wasn't for the performance issues, I would genuinely recommend it over Cities Skylines 1 even now because it adds enough
Do you
for
know
me.
what's the state of the modding for City Skylines 2?
We still don't know, but they keep talking about it.
Okay.
The map creator now exists. I don't think it's released yet, but we've seen videos of it. But it's coming. We don't know the
So
details too
this would
much yet,
almost
but it
be
looks
like
promising.
an honorable mention for 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if the
You
performance was
enjoyed
better, I
stuff
would
with
be
it.
talking
It
about
was
it.
an improvement over the first game, but because of the performance issues,
Well,
you cannot recommend it to most people.
yeah, I still want to do a tangerine on this. I have not done it yet, but I will probably start with this in the tangerine because I went in when this was first announced. I was like, what's the point? Because I just thought it was just like Cities Skylines 1, but with better graphics and a new engine sort of thing. But as I looked into oh no, they've completely changed how they wanted to do the simulation, completely changed the logistics side, completely changed how they were going to do the industry side. And it's oh, okay, that's really really cool, and that's much. And then I watched some of the people I'm subscribed to do the beta of it when it was actually a beta. And I was
Yeah.
oh okay, it's actually really really cool what they're doing here, and the progression is actually a better idea. Yes, it can be cheese. Again, I'll talk about that in the video, but I just didn't. I went from oh, I don't see the point of it. I'm gonna wait until DLC come to. Oh, this is a Crusaders Kings 3 situation where the core mechanics are different enough from the previous game with lots of DLC. It was oh, okay, this justifies its existence.
Cool.
But yeah, unfortunately, can't can't be actually in this, but worth talking about, I suppose.
Yep. Do you want me to go over
That's all the
my
games.
played in
Yeah,
2023? If you need to go
I
to
am completed.
but I realized that the podcast is almost it's 2.5 hours
2.5 hours.
now to
Yeah,
3 hours.
yeah,
If you want to get a
yeah.
water or go for a bathroom break, I can talk about some
Yeah,
stuff while you go.
I'll leave it for you for a couple of seconds, I think.
All right. So I'm going to start with the one I played at the beginning of the year, which is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I immediately played this and I was like, okay, I found my best game of 2000 I played in 2023. It's Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This is just where I started with my Switch emulation because I cranked up the resolution and the FPS because I think natively on the Switch it's running at 1080p 30 and it's not even a stable 30. So I was like, you know what? Let's get this emulated on the PC. 4K 60, absolute treat of a game. Looks so good, runs so smoothly, and the first Kirby game I ever played was when I was younger. I played the Game Boy Kirby's Dream Land, which might be the first Kirby game. I think Kirby's Dream Land because I actually played it recently on the official Switch emulator, and yeah, I just had fun playing that game again. Been really enjoying going back and playing not only playing some stuff from my childhood that I really enjoyed, but playing stuff I'd never played before. And man, I can't describe how much I love Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I feel like because I almost wish I played this game last year because I was like, if I played this game last year, this would definitely be in my games of 2022. It is such a good game, and it is so like not only is like the movement and the platforming great, it's just the soundtrack is amazing. Moving around and sucking in the different powers, it's always so creative and fun. And there's also the Forgo treasures where you have like these little challenge mode sort of things, and every single mission has objectives, but they're hidden objectives until you complete the mission and do more of them, and it shows you more of what you need to do to get the full completion. And yeah, I 100% completed this game this year. I absolutely adore this game. I think it is a 5 out of 5 game, and I think it's one of those games I don't think gets enough praise it deserves. I mean, the Switch has such an impressive catalog of games that I feel like a game like Kirby and the Forgotten Land almost deserves to be talked about more. And I think like stuff like Kirby is cool, where you can just driving around as Kirby. I was surprised how good the driving mechanics actually were in the game for a mechanic where you suck up a car and just drive it around. And I think like the meme image was like, oh, you can Kirby becomes a car, but genuinely there is so much more depth to this game. Like it is a really fun game, and it comes to like when you have the battles and you have the different power-ups from the hats, and you can even improve the hats and it turns them into completely different powers in some ways. And if, like eventually in Kirby you do actually get to a point where you're sort of like min-maxing the game in terms of like, oh, I'm going to use the time boss hat to freeze him so I can deal a bunch of damage, and then I'm going to switch to the freeze hat, and then I'm going to try and freeze him because there's certain challenges to kill bosses without taking hits and stuff like that. Like there's lots of like random different challenges you can go for the 100%. Like you can fight Meta Knight in an arena. Yeah, I love this game, and it is definitely one of my best games I played in 2023. And then I'll move on to my first ever Zelda game, which is A Link's Awakening. I think again, this game is fucking gorgeous. It's got such a great use of like depth of field, like from a top-down perspective, to make things look like miniatures.
Yeah, miniature look is always an interesting look.
In terms of like, because I know Tears of the Kingdom came out this year, but in terms of Zelda games, I've always been much more interested in the classic Zelda games, because every time I played like a great like adventure game or puzzle game or even like a Metroidvania sort of game, I would always play it and be like, man, I really love the puzzles in here. And when I'd read the reviews, they'd be like, man, this game's great. It's got such great Zelda-esque puzzle design. And I was like, man,
yeah,
maybe I need to play this Zelda game because I love these puzzles. And yeah, going into the dungeons and like Link's Awakening, I love that sort of stuff. And that sort of stuff appealed way more to me than the more open structure of like the Tears of the Kingdom and the what was the Wii U Switch one called? Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I'm not
and I thought, well, I was thinking, well, maybe the best way to get into them was if I took because this is one of the Game Boy games, I believe, was Link's Awakening. If I take one of the early 2D Zelda games and then I try it in like the remastered version on the Switch, then I could see if I sort of like the older 2D games, but in a more of a what's it called? Up to date way, quality of life change way, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, Zelda Link's Awakening holds up to this day. It's really, really good. It looks gorgeous. It plays well. The puzzles are really good. I didn't get stuck on the puzzles, so you can tell that they're well designed and intuitive in a way that won't confuse someone who's really dumb at puzzles.
But that infinite like was changing price. Like I'll give this to you, and then now you need to go find someone else to give this to.
Oh, that was really cool. There's like a optional quest in the game, which is like a fetch quest where you give different items to different people, and then
that's how you do a fetch quest. Which is like I guess like a relay, I guess,
And then
a relay fetch
it
quest.
unlocks like an optional boomerang in the game, which you can use as a weapon, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, in the original game, there must not have been a chain chomp in town. And then I looked at footage of the original game. And I was like, oh, no, there was a chain chomp. I just assumed that in the remake, they just added all of the Mario stuff.
No.
Turns
Apparently
out that
not.
was in the original game. Like, there's actually like
That's so funny.
you go into like a platforming section, you fight Goombas and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. I just didn't think that would be in the original game, but it is. But it makes sense in the story of the game, which I think in the original review I put a spoiler timestamp for the story of the game because
Yeah.
oh my, it's a game called Link's Awakening. I don't know, like
If you think about it, you know.
You know, I won't go into. If you want to see more, check out
Yeah.
my Link's Awakening Tangerine. A really good game, 5 out of 5 game for me. And we'll move on to my next game. Let's go for the Mario games. No, actually, let's go Metroid. I want to talk about Metroid. If I was going to give an award to Metroid Prime, I would give it to my best Metroidvania game of the year, I would say, for sure, which is pretty funny because I love Metroidvania games. Some of my favorite games are Metroidvania games. I love Ori. Ori is like one of my favorite games. I've played a lot of Metroidvania games, and I absolutely adore them, but I'd never played a Metroid game until this year.
Until Dread.
Until Dread, like
You,
I adore SteamWorld Dig, Guacamelee, Supraland, Blasphemous, Haiku the Robot.
so you're saying that Metroid is a game is a reason why it's named Metroidvania. You're saying
Metroid is the real.
deserved.
I understand why Metroid is used to define an entire genre of kick-ass games because I gotta say, Metroid Dread is so good. One thing I'll say about Metroid was I think in the original review, like I think I gave it like a 4.5, maybe. I gave it like a point off because some of the collectibles were a bit harder to find. But the more I come away from Metroid Dread, the more I'm like actually like not playing Metroid Dread, I think about it way more, like to a point where I'm like, this is such a good game. I feel like this should be like a 5 out of 5 game from me. Like I love this game. I adore like I love
you
how
still think about it after,
yes. And I love like how the world changes based on the abilities you get. The platforming is great. The way it switches from like the 2D's perspective, like platforming, and then you're in a boss fight, and suddenly it's like a Souls boss fight, and you're like blasting this giant lava monster in like a 3D camera pan perspective. It's great. I adore it. And also the fucking robots that you have to sneak past are some of the most terrifying things in video games, where if they fight, they like chase you down and find you and you have to like sneak but past them and stuff. Like the Metroid Dread puts the dread into you through those like in a lot of ways Metroid Dread is like a horror game.
Why it's called that.
Yeah, like it is fucking terrifying in some ways. And yeah. Tony, I've played 2 Metroid games. I'm guessing in 2024 I'm going to need to play a Castlevania game then, I guess.
How about was it Dead Cells Castlevania? Was it? What was
Dead Cells is Castlevania DLC. I was thinking about playing about playing Symphony of the Night. The actual like an actual Castlevania game.
I would have played the Dead Cells Castlevania game.
And then next up we have let's go on to Mario then. Mario Odyssey. Wow. What a game. Mario Odyssey. One of the best Mario 3D platformers, I would say, for sure, immediately.
Yeah.
Such a good format for a game, because I went from playing Mario Galaxy to playing this, and Mario Galaxy is very much a self-contained, like you're on one planet and then you find like maybe 1 or 2 stars on that planet and then you go to a different level, whereas like Mario Odyssey is just all about exploration. It's like, here's a big open environment, find 100 moons on this. Like it's like it gets very creative, and it's like how do we make it so there's like a billion different ways to find moons on this world, and it's a world you want to explore because the movement system in this game is one of the best movement systems in any game ever. It starts out and you're like not entirely sure how to use all of your new powers, but you'll get to a point where you're like diving off walls, you're throwing Cappy out, you're then jumping onto Cappy to get a speed boost to give you another jump into a dive into another, and it's like you just start you just start comboing movement abilities together to a point where Mario Odyssey is a game that begs you to explore and traverse it, and it is so fun to do it that you will just spend so much time, like you will enjoy just moving around and just exploring. Like Mario Odyssey is a game I 100%ed, and I would recommend most people to go and play this game and 100% it. It's so much fun. And you know what? The most unfair thing about the way I do the games of 2023, Tony, is that every single game I played this year is eligible to win this award. And if I have to pick one, I have to put games that come out in different years against each other. It's like a battle royale game. And I tell you what, Tony, this year I also played a game called Sekiro, and holy shit, is this a good game. So again, Tony, my first ever From Software game, a lot of firsts this year. I started playing a lot of Japanese games this year. I really haven't touched that many Japanese games. I played my first FromSoft, my first Metroid, my first Mario, my first Zelda, and I fucking adore this game, Tony. Again, a secret rhythm game, Sekiro. What worries me about Sekiro is I will never play another game like Sekiro because it is just so fucking unique and it's so satisfying with the way it does its like parry system. To a point where I'm worried it's so unlike the other like Dark Souls games and Elden Ring and stuff like that, that I don't know. I've seen some people say like Armored Core is like more like Sekiro, so maybe I'll check out Armored Core at some point, but
I think
that's very different in the way that it's like a shooter and a mech game and more level based.
I don't think the parry systems are at all. It's kind of maybe some similarities, but it's still like very different, I would say.
But this year, 2023, I've been trying not to buy as many games. I've been trying to tackle more stuff in my backlog, and I've also made my backlog bigger by deciding that I'm gonna play Switch games and emulate more stuff. So but one thing, there was a Steam sale this Christmas, and there was a lot of great stuff on sale, and I managed to not buy anything, but I've been playing Blasphemous a lot recently, and I adored Sekiro this year, and I did buy Elden Ring on sale. So I think I may play Elden Ring next year. I'm not sure though. We'll see. But I'm interested to try Elden Ring because I just adored this game so much. Sekiro is a game that makes me go, man, it's definitely one of the best games I've ever played. And it's such a hard thing to describe, like the experience Sekiro gives you in the way it breaks you down and rebuilds you as a player. And by the time you get to the end of the Sekiro and you get to the final boss, he's hard, but you're ready to fight him. My friend sent me a message, I think it was yesterday, and he said, I was reading something online about the hardest bosses in video games. And he said, what's your thoughts on Ishin? And Ishin is the final boss of Sekiro. And people say he's the hardest boss that From Software's ever made. And he says, what do you think of him? And I said, honestly, the whole of Sekiro is like an invisible tutorial. And they say like the best thing about tutorials is you don't know you're in it. The best tutorials, you don't know you're in them, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is true. And I would say to me, like, by the time I got to Ishin, like, one of my favorite roadblocks in Sekiro is a character called Genichiro. And Genichiro, I died like 30 times to. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'll beat this. But I got to a point where I was like, perfect parry, perfect parry, perfect parry. And it's like, Sekiro is a game that rewards... Dark Souls is a game that rewards consistency, right? And...
managing your resources correctly.
And sometimes it's better to be defensive. Sekiro is a game that awards aggression and perfection. And Dark Souls is a game about being consistent over 5 minutes of fighting a boss. if you can be perfect for like 15, 30 seconds in Sekiro, you can really fuck up a boss and kill them. It's like it just gives you those perfect moments where it's like perfect parry, attack, 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 perfect parry. And it's just like there's some special like neuron in my brain that goes off when I deflect a perfect parry, and like the sound that goes off, and like in a lot of ways it is like a secret rhythm game where when you learn the attacks and you can parry them, like it's very common for somebody to play through Sekiro and struggle and then replay the game again and just breeze through it because you've already learnt everything you need to know about the game. So yeah, I mean, man. Oh, okay. So I think if I had to, if I was like gun to my head, if I had to pick my favorite games of 2023, I'd have to give it.
You don't have to pick one.
I
Your
don't
force
have
is
to.
point yourself. You
But
don't have to pick one.
I think it's an
But you
interesting.
have to.
I think it's an
Yeah,
interesting thought
sure.
experiment. But I think if I had to go back in time and I could only play one game, I think I would choose Sekiro. It is such a good game. It's like a life-changing game, and it's got me more interested in playing From Software games because it was such a unique, fun experience. And I deeply adore this game. Like a close second would be Mario Odyssey because Mario Odyssey is just pure joy in terms of like moving around. Like everything feels good in Mario Odyssey. Joy, exploration. One word for Sekiro is satisfaction. When you finally earn your victory, you finally get those perfect parries. It is the most satisfying thing in the world.
Fail, succeed, satisfaction.
There's a great line because I played with the Japanese dub, and it's like I think it's Ishin actually at the end who says this. He's like, hesitation is defeat, and it's just like that is the perfect line for Sekiro. It's like if you play super defensively and you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, you know, aggression is rewarded, perfection is rewarded, and there's a guy you will like. There's like basically a training dummy inside the beginning area of Sekiro, who's a character who basically you can fight over and over again as many times as you want. Because in Sekiro you have what's called the dragon rot, which means you can't die. Shadows die twice, so you can actually resurrect an extra time to come back and fight. And he basically, when you fight him, he goes like "mada mada," which means again. So you just keep fighting him over and over and over again. Hannah, I think his name Hanabi. I don't think that's. I don't know. Anyway, it's a really, really fun game, and I think it's not a game that will connect with everybody. I think fundamentally anybody could beat Sekiro. I think it just requires, commitment, and I think beating Sekiro
is gel with that.
I've seen lots of people who've never I've never played a Souls game before. I've never played anything like this really, and I've heard Sekiro was. I just saw Sekiro and I was like, oh, I like feudal Japan. That looks fun.
Yeah.
And from what I read online, everyone was saying Sekiro is one of the hardest games From Software has ever made. And I went in, and over the course of several play sessions over a month, I went in and I played it over and over again, and I beat it. It's not an impossible game. It just requires you to dedicate time to it.
That's fair.
But yeah, going back to what I was saying, when my friend said, "Is Ishin one of the hardest bosses in a game?" I said, "No, fuck the Demon of Hatred. That boss. That boss is not a Sekiro boss. That is like a Dark Souls boss. It's like it has so many unparryable attacks. It is so annoying to defeat. I was like throwing myself across the room trying to beat that boss. I was like, it's an optional boss that you don't have to defeat. But I was like, I want to beat every mini boss and I want to beat every boss because I just wanted to keep playing the game. And I beat that fucking Demon of Hatred, and then I went and killed Ishin, and then I pieced out of there.
Yeah. Very, very good game. It definitely made me interested in wanting to play it. You showing it, but very good theme.
Yeah.
Very good. A lot of games played this
There's so
year.
much about like um
Unfair
there's so much I love
selection.
about
Yeah.
Sekiro that I think I just love about this game that I wouldn't like in terms of like a Dark Souls game. I don't care about leveling up individual stats or using different weapons. Like I liked, you know me, I liked linear games. I liked having one
Yeah.
character with one weapon. I didn't
Yeah.
want to go in and customize a character. I liked playing Sekiro. I liked seeing
Yeah.
what his story was. I liked using
Yeah.
his weapon. I liked using his moveset. Like I liked just having this one, you know, this one game, this one playstyle, and just going and perfecting it. And that's what Sekiro's about. Um, so yeah, man. 2023 was a very good year for gaming for me because I played so many games I never played and I had so many games I connected with in 2023 and games that came out in 2023. So if you want to play any games that you've never tried, give them a go, or anything you've seen here, give them a go. They're all really good because they deserve to be on this list.
And I might as well didn't have to play games that come out in current year, whatever current year is for
Yeah,
you.
you've seen me talk about how
Old
many
games are
games.
new to you.
You've seen how many games I've talked about that I have said are perfect games that I deeply love, and they
Yeah.
came out years ago.
So, are we in a resolution part of this video, or you want to keep talking about
I think
games
I'm
of the?
finished now.
Okay, I'll put a timestamp for this then.
You want it? So my resolution for gaming this year, Tony, and as
Yeah.
CP Gray says, don't set for resolutions. Don't set a goal because you will fail the goal and give up. Set a theme.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna I'm not gonna disagree with it. I'm gonna take a different approach. I'm gonna accept that goals can fail. It doesn't matter, and if I don't succeed, whatever. I'm gonna aim high but accept failure.
Okay.
Is my strategy. But I'm gonna be more vague and aim high. I want to play more games for my backlog and fix my habits. I know this may not be important for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but for me, as an OCD person, like habits is like the problem.
Yeah.
I've definitely have habits where I play less games and like I end up doing more easy stuff and like more
I
like
could
stuff
play
like or
games, or I
more.
could,
I
mod
guess like
Skyrim again.
I'm gonna be honest, that wasn't my issue. Like modern
Okay.
Skyrim, like made me want to play the game more. I had issues of like getting stuck. Like, oh, I need to go onto Discord and talk to people. I need to like just spend more time myself playing games, experiencing these
Yeah,
things
I feel like I have
instead
the
of just watching
opposite.
it.
I have a lot of opposite
Hmm.
effect. I feel like being on Discord and talking to people makes me want to play games more.
Yeah,
Like sharing
I.
my experience of playing the game with them through
Oh,
Discord makes
absolutely.
me want to play more
But
games.
there's lots of games where like I kind of want to listen to what's going on. Like I'm in
Yeah. Well, I said like
need
Homebody, I
like
literally
talking to
had to
people
go off
forces me.
Discord. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of games I want to play I like that, but like, I need time by myself. That might not be true, like, but I need to be able to like fix my habits to just do that. I think, and then just commit to it. So
So
that's my generic resolution: play more games that
well,
just try more, start
mine
and try.
So mine last year was emulation, which I definitely did a lot more emulation. But I think through this
Yeah.
year, I did the friend wheel last year. I forgot to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
The wheel
Oh god.
experiment, and what I learned from the wheel experiment is getting my friends to pick games for me. Is a funny concept, but it turns out I'm probably the best person to recommend myself games.
Yes, and giving up is okay if you don't like it. It
Yeah,
might take
and
away
my
from your
resolution was,
experiment
yeah,
for me.
if I don't like it, I should be willing to give up on more bad games and just play something else because I
Yeah.
have so many games.
Yeah.
And one of
So I'm gonna
my
do that. Try more games and give up
what
quicker.
one of my ideas for a game wheel that I wanted to create was a Japan wheel because I realized I hadn't played that many
Mm.
Japanese games, and through playing some Japanese games through emulation and stuff, I think my theme of next year is the theme of Japan is going to be for me. I think I'm going to play. I'm going to
Yeah.
try and. I think I want to play my first Yakuza game. I want to play my first Monkey Ball game. Fuck it, I'll play another Sonic game. Why not? I played
A good
Sonic.
one.
Yeah, I'll play like I
Not
don't
a
know.
bad one. Everyone thinks
Maybe
it's
I'll play
good.
like Sonic Mania or something.
Yeah.
I really want to play I really want to play Final Fantasy 16, but that's still on PS5. I think Final Fantasy. I've never played a Final Fantasy game. I think that would be really interesting to try.
Well, the one
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't even played Final Fantasy 15, have you?
No.
Okay.
Or the 7 remake
Or the 7
either,
remake, yeah.
which is on Steam. But I
Those are
just
two
thought,
games that I want to actually play, so that's on my list of favorite
but yeah,
games I need
maybe
to
I'll
actually
play
play.
another Souls game, or maybe I'll play Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to be playing more Mario games. I think I'm set in playing more Nintendo games at this point because I just adore them at this point.
Mm.
Um, anything else? I want to play more Tango GameWorks games because I think they're amazing as well. From playing Ghost Runner, not Ghost Runner, Ghostwire Tokyo this year. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll play. I really want to play Hi-Fi Rush. Maybe I'll get Games Pass this year and I'll play Hi-Fi Rush.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
I've been wanting to try
Those are good
out Games Pass.
resolutions.
I've been wanting to try out Games Pass again for a while, so maybe I will get Games Pass this year. Might be a good idea because I think Games Pass is a really nice thing because it allows you to keep your backlog while also being able to play newer games as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
100%. I think it has its use. It's just not for me how I want to experience games.
yeah, I mean I've used it in the past, but I used it to play mostly multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Back when it was in beta on PC, I used it to play Sea of Thieves originally and State of Decay. And again, Tony, Games Pass is a really good system if you want to just try out games. So if you're like, I'm not sure I
Oh
like
yeah.
this game, let me download it, play it for a bit.
Hundred
Didn't connect
percent.
with this one, let me try something else.
Hundred. My perfect solution would be just every game had a demo. Like
Mhm.
I shouldn't need to have to subscribe to something. But yeah, for sure. 100%. That's a value that adds.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be theme of Japan. I'm gonna try and go through my backlog because I have a bunch of Japanese games. I have Killer is Dead. I want to play platinum games. I want to play more. I have platinum games in my
Mm.
backlog I haven't played. Yeah,
It's been a while. Some older platinum games, maybe not the newer ones. But yeah, some little platinum games I need to play as well.
which I think I have. Maybe I'll play Bayonetta. I have Bayonetta, I believe. So give that a go. I've never played a Splatoon game. Maybe I should play Splatoon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the
Was that
future
in
just seems bright
Inbetween?
to
I
me. There's
was.
just so
Yeah.
many people I see on like YouTube and stuff. It's like, oh, gaming sucks now, and I'm like, 2023 was a
Nah.
great year for games, and there's so many
Yeah.
games I haven't even scratched the
I
surface of yet.
I know there's it's a game with lots of highs and lots of lows, but I just feel like that's kind of inevitable, isn't it? Like every year there's like lots of good things happening, there's also lots of things failing. I think that's just
No, for me, like
life.
when I get recommended those videos of like, oh, this game's the worst, I've just been like telling YouTube not to recommend me like negative stuff, and I've just been trying to be like,
Oh, okay.
oh, here's a video with 200 views, and it's someone like making an interesting video about a Steam Deck or an emulation or a
Yeah,
retro,
yeah,
and I've
yeah,
just been like
absolutely.
watching stuff like that, or just anything positive recommended to me. I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. It's a cool game.
I I I like negative criticism when it like add interest and like trying to explain stuff. But yeah, I think there's definitely a point in like too
When
much
you go on
negativity.
YouTube
Like
these
don't
days and
forget the
there's
good.
like 500 videos about why people hate Starfield, and I'm like, at this
Mhm.
point, if you don't like Starfield, don't play the game. Like it's like you know
Absolutely.
when people are just sitting there and they're just like beating a dead horse and they're rooting for it to fail, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
at that point
But I still find those.
you're kind of not realizing that you're spending so much energy being negative when you could spend more energy
Yeah,
trying to do
it
something more positive or just
it
trying to
depends what
enjoy
you're trying
other
to get out of
games.
it. Because there's definitely a lot of just stuff of like, oh, I like it or I didn't like it. But it's like I still click some video essays on stuff where like I didn't like the game and here's why. Sort of
Mm.
I trying to like put into words and put into
I
concept
just
like
use that
why
as like an
it's like it fails
example,
is very
like
interesting. Yeah, yeah,
because there's
absolutely.
been a lot
It's
of
just like
negativity about the game, and
mhm,
it's like, well, you know, people had high hopes for it, and it didn't come towards their high
yeah.
hopes, and it's like,
If you're
well,
just stuck in a if you're stuck in a doom cycle where it's like, oh, I was hyped for it, I was going to keep watching doom vids, but
I
to
played
me, I'm like, why did
I
it fail? It's very
I
interesting to
played
me.
5 games or 5 or 6 games this year that didn't come out this year that you've probably never
Mhm,
played, and if you play them, you'll probably love them. And if you spent that
mhm.
energy on something playing something else,
100%.
you'll probably find a game
Yeah,
that you really actually connect with. Is what I'm
yeah.
trying to come away from this with.
Yeah, if you're just like doing it because like you just wanted, like, yeah, 100% go and do something you actually want to do. For me personally, it's like I actually want to. I'm curious like why things fail. So like that's something I want to spend energy on. Of why is Starfield bad or mediocre, depending how you want to look at it.
D4 bad,
Yeah,
D4 bad. There's a lot of that this year as well.
yeah, depends what you want from it. More almost everything has nuance to it. It's not. It's
I think
never
it's been a
that simple.
polarizing year because
Yeah,
some of the best games came out this year, some of the worst games and worst,
and
like Lord of Ring Golem,
some.
Monkey.exe. That's an interesting one. But yeah. I think Tony has died. Tony's just got a new internet service provider. I don't know if that's the issue or
Well,
if he's back. He's back.
from my side, it's fine. I can hear you until I can't. I don't know what the problem is. I don't
Oh,
blame
okay.
Discord.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
blaming
play. I
Discord.
was
I don't
just gonna
know.
say it probably is
Twitch is
Discord,
fine.
so
Twitch is perfectly fine for me. Like I'm not losing anything, and you're not losing anything on Twitch. So I don't know.
well, you know what, Tony? Should we end it here? Is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, it's a good ending. It's
Did you see
3
any good
hours,
TV
5
shows?
minutes.
I watched Silo this year on Apple TV, and it's really fucking good. But nobody's gonna watch it because it's on Apple TV, and there's 500 different streaming services.
Yeah,
Um,
people have talked about it.
I watched
No, I'm not really putting effort into
the One Piece
TV this year.
Netflix show, and I was like, this is
Oh
actually
God.
quite no, it's good. It's actually good.
Yeah, no, I think of the other like isn't like the good one after like tons of like bad adaptations, isn't it? What
Yeah.
was the
So
one that
everyone's
was
like,
like
oh, this is gonna suck.
Bebop and
Cowboy Bebop's but
oh and like
I watched Cowboy Bebop
the
this year
other
for the
one.
first time. Um I watched
What's the other one?
anything else? I remember. I watched the new boys show, Gen V. That was quite good. Was Star Trek Picard season 3 this year, or am I going crazy?
I think it might be.
I don't even remember at this point. Yeah, Star Trek Picard season 3 was this year, Tony, and there was good episodes in that.
I like the middle. I think people give the ending too much credit personally. I think it was alright. I'd recommend
Given how bad season 2
I'd
was, I
recommend
think it
it
was a
with
miracle.
its many flaws. I think some people are praising it too high, but I think it may be
I think
worth a watching.
genuinely,
It's mediocre to good.
just for the Ro Laren episode, I think
Yes,
genuinely that
yes,
is very much
yes.
worth watching.
The only like the send off at the end is just the same send off as like the actual TNG ending. Like that does not deserve it being good. The Ro Laren send off is fantastic,
Yeah.
but flawed because it's like integrated with the rest of the stuff. And yeah, manage expectations. I would recommend it to some extent.
Yeah, that's the end of the Games of the Year podcast. Check out anything you're interested in, and we'll see you in 2024 that we're definitely not in now. Bye.
Current year. Bye.